Alrighty, so thank you everyone for coming by. Really appreciate it. I'm gonna take this quick minute to help manage some of you guys' expectations about what we're gonna get into right now. This is gonna be a double check. I've already done a good amount of work on this plan, and I am too tired to keep going with new stuff in the plan because I'll probably just fuck up. And it's been too long since I streamed, so I need to get some more content out for you guys. So this stream is going to be double checking my work. It'll give you guys a chance to ask some questions without you completely derailing me and making this all take longer than it should, because it's all already done. All we're gonna do is go and double check. So we're going to be going back over the Excel document. We're going to be going over the new Word document that I've created, because we have to have all of this information written down in order to remind ourselves how and where this is getting shipped. So we're coming up with station names. We're coming up with locations for where things are going to get made based off where those resources on the map are. All this stuff. And so we have to plan out the general locations, nothing too specific. You know, we're not going to go like it's going to be made at this rock in this biome at this latitude, expanding this much territory. Like, we're not going that deep. But we're going to go into, okay, is it next to the resource? Does it have enough of that resource? Do I have to change anything about my plan? And we did have to do that. We had to start using the refineries to start washing some resources, because otherwise it meant droning or training other raw resources from other areas of the map. And that wasn't going to fly because we only have 125 drones that we're using at our disposal. So as few of those as possible is ideal. And I don't want to spend, you know, 10, 20, 30 drones shipping resources across the map, because, fun fact, copper is going to be a huge issue. So I am trying to use as little copper as I can, but those goddamn nuclear pastas take so much fucking copper that it is almost impossible to not have to drone copper around the map. So we haven't fully fleshed that out yet, and we won't today. But what we did manage to get down was like the electromagnetic control rods, the fused modular frames, the heat sinks, the oil, all that kind of stuff. That's been taken care of. It's been kind of like jumpy and not super cohesive, because we're trying to solve individual pieces of the puzzle, and those pieces require 20 different things that maybe have some things in common with others, but they're not like all of that entire other puzzle piece. Like Quickwire is a good example, where there's like 3 things that use Quickwire, and once you make all the Quickwire, once you do those 3 things, you're done with all the Quickwire. But wire is the other end of that, where like 25 different things use wire, and they're all using it at different rates. And so that's the kind of thing that like I just have to like figure out later, because there's iron is like the most abundant resource. So I've been taking the approach of running with what's not the most abundant, like quartz, like Caterium, like all that sulfur, like this things that have to be in certain locations, and then going from there, and then having to fix other issues with either other alternate recipes or with having to train in other things from other parts of the map in order to make that work. So we're going to be redoing the map here. Let me go ahead and toss this into the main music one, so we can get a little bit of music while we get going. So what I started off with was just a shitty map, where I took this interactive map, and I'll show you how I did this, but you don't have to do this because I did something better for you guys already. It's also for me, but I figured if I was doing it for me, I might as well do it for you. So what I did is I just zoomed in my screen here, about like that actually, and I just took a piece of paper, put it up on my computer screen, and then took a pen and just traced out that red line, and then went through and like doodled like the edges of the map, so I could have like a super rough idea of where everything was, and then went ahead and started taking dots and like planning out factories, and started drawing my train line, started drawing where all the resources were going to be, started drawing where like certain factories were going to go. And so I have this like physical map. I should post a picture of this in the Discord, actually. I didn't do that. But that is like what I've been working off of to keep this plan in my head, as well as I have been using this Word document to go with like everything that's going on. Like there's 3 main aluminum factories. I'm calling it ingot 1, ingot 2, and then casing / batteries. And so ingots 1 is using so much of one thing, ingots 2 is using so much of another thing, and casings is using so much of another. And then those things are going to be shipped with other stations, some with drones, some with trains, and those are going to interact with other substations like Sulfur A2, Sulfur A1, Copper C, all this kind of stuff, in order to get the rest of the resources in, and then there'll be training stuff out. And I've got this like super detailed train line that details like basically all of the bauxite on the map has all been mapped out. Like there's a lot of stuff to go over, and so we're going to be going over this stuff together. I unfortunately don't have a camera in order to show you where and how I'm drawing out these lines on the new map that I have printed out, but there is a printout map on the Discord. So if you use ! in Discord, like you can see in the chat there. Oh, this is a lot smaller than before. I think I'll scale up the chat a little. Up a little thing. Actually, you know what? Yeah, so that'll be a bit bigger now. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. So if you use ! Discord, you can get a link to the Discord, and in the Discord under the Satisfactory tab, I've got a list of stuff. In fact, I can show you guys right now exactly what's there, since I'm sharing my entire monitor. I will show you guys what we have in there. We have different versions. We have 4 different maps for you guys to choose from about how you want to print that out. I am using the black and white map with the no border selection. So this is what we've got going on in the Discord. So I've got the regular color map for you guys. If you guys just want the map to print out, that's just nothing's been changed. But this uses a lot of black ink to print that, so I didn't really want that. So I went ahead and whited out all the black parts for you guys, so that if you want to print this off in color and not use, you know, half of your black ink cartridge just to get a printout, then here you go. I also took the liberty of making it into black and white, so that if you don't want to use color ink, like I don't want to because color ink is expensive, that now you have this version with the oceans intact and no black border. And then the version that I'm currently using is this version, where I have the black borders removed and the oceans removed, and this is just the main landmass, because this is where most of the resources are, so the rest of the space can be used for notes and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'll be using. We also have links to a drone guide on Reddit that is fantastic. So this is basically like the most in-depth stuff that you can think about for drones. We also have the interactive map, which I'll be using today. That's linked in the Discord. And we have the Satisfactory wiki linked in the Discord, which is what I will be using today as well to double check rates. I may not need the wiki this much, but trains is super useful. I can show you guys what they have on trains on the official wiki. That is super useful, like super useful. They go ahead and detail the times that it takes. I also go ahead and calculate this myself, but they do detail the time that it takes to do all these different things, and to get this to I guess my computer isn't loving me right now. Internet doesn't want to be a thing. That's unfortunate. The stream's doing okay, but yeah, Google Chrome has decided to not respond. That's fun. And as always, I always have my calculator off to the side. I like to do the split. I'm working at 21:9 again today, guys. I know most of the time this isn't 16:9, especially when we game. But for me, when I'm working, especially with Excel, not using my 21:9 monitor just seems like a fucking waste. So when I'm doing this kind of work, I'm going to go back to shooting in 21:9. and doing that. So sorry if this is like too small for you guys of how you would normally view it, but it does make this work a lot easier for me, and it is what I prefer. So I'm gonna be selfish and do that, and hopefully it works out. But the Reddit has a ton of info on the trains, and this Wikipedia page has a shitload of information on trains. Like everything that you could possibly need to know about how trains work and what they do is all right here. Super fucking awesome. And my favorite thing about it is this bit here. When you find calculating throughput and go to the main article for train throughput, this is dope. Okay, this lets you know the recommended train length ratio, which is 1 engine to 4 cars, and the stuff that you have in the car doesn't affect the weight of the car, so it's always going to be that 1 to 4 is the ideal ratio. And that 1 to 4 means that you can transfer 128 stacks per engine on your train, and you can stack up those as much as you want. You can do a 2-headed train. You can have 1 engine on the front, 8 cars in the middle, then 1 engine on the back. And that works. Oh, actually, that wouldn't work. Sorry. Trains cannot reverse. So it's not like a regular train where you can have 1 engine going backwards and then helping push the rest of the cars on the front. They don't do that. So if you have a 2-headed train with 1 engine on the front and 1 engine on the back, 4 cars is still your maximum length. You can't go up to 8. You can do 2 and 2 on front and back, and then you could go up to 8, but one that otherwise is just not quite going to work, and you're going to find that at 5 cars it can start to struggle to go up hills and sometimes not make it up hills, and the impact to speed is just not worth it. If you're on a perfectly flat object, then you can technically stack as many as you want. If it's perfectly flat, the only thing that it's going to hinder is your acceleration rate. So you could put as many of them as you want on there, but it will take way longer to accelerate than it would otherwise. So it's still not the best idea, but it's possible if you absolutely have to use just 1 engine and more of those guys, more of the train cars. But otherwise, this has different equations, so you can help calculate your throughput, which is super fucking awesome. It also has timetables, so that you can this is not for unloading the train car. This is for unloading the station. And the station has 48 stacks, while the train car has 32 stacks. So this is a little misleading, because what I recommend is going off of 32 stack speeds, not 48 stack speeds, because your train can only do so much output. So this is really more about, like, if you know you're overproducing, then this timetable is great. But if you don't know if you're overproducing, or if you know that you're just barely going to be cutting by, or you want to know your bare minimum, then 32 stacks is what you should be going off of. And on top of that, I took the extra step. Instead of going off of 2 Mark V belts, which is 1,560 items per minute, I am redoing that to 1,200 items per minute, because that is what every single belt in my factory is based off of. All of my Mark V belts that I'm planning on are not running at 780. They're running at 600. So that when I have the 1,200 per minute of the maximum ore being taken out, that can be split perfectly into 2 equal throughput belts, so that my entire factory is the correct ratio regardless of how they balance that. If they squish the items limit, because they have 1,200 per minute is kind of hard for the game to do, both in render and just at all. So what they might end up doing is compressing the numbers but keeping the ratios the same. And so what this plan will do is protect me from the number squishing and let me have the same ratios as everything else that it would be. So I can essentially future-proof for an update that hasn't even happened yet, so that if it ends up going to 1,200, I'm totally fine, no big deal, everything runs the way it's supposed to. If it doesn't end up going to 1,200 and ends up getting squished, then I'm still good, because I'm counting on it just using half of whatever it can pull out. So that's kind of where I'm at. So otherwise, if I was gonna say to run it at like I think at anything other than that, then that's where I'm worried some stuff could come into play. Like it shouldn't, and if they're fixing it the way that they need to fix it, then that wouldn't happen, and it should still be just fine. But this is one little extra step that I know I can take to be absolutely solid no matter what, because I'm just running everything off of half of whatever that max output is, and I'm good. So just an equal split down the middle, and yeah, that's basically it. No matter what they end up doing to fix this, I'm chilling. So this is a little bit different. So my times that I'm calculating for how long it takes to empty the train itself, like a full train compartment, at 1200 per minute with 32 stacks, that is my timetable for how quickly that train needs to return. That is what that time tells me. That's what that calculation is for. It lets me know that if I'm going to run through a 500 item stack at 32 stacks, that's 16,000 items divided by 1200 means I have 13.33 minutes until that train needs to be back and depositing another load of materials. That's how long that has. And then that will depend also on if my factory is running off of a 1-to-1 ratio of freight and of train cars to factory input, right? Like if I wanted to double that amount of time to say 26 minutes, 27 minutes, then I could run my entire factory off of the output of 2 train cars emptying at 1200 per minute, which would really be more like 1 train car emptying at 600 per minute. So that's kind of where that would go. Or if I wanted to have that be a thing, but my plan is to run my factory as if 1 train car was the output, or rather the demand, every shipment rather, of whether it's drones or trains, is that amount that it's able to carry is the same as the demand of that factory, if that makes sense. So 1 train car is going to be used at 1200 per minute for basically every train car. Like every train car is going to depend, there's some exceptions obviously when I just don't need that many things and stuff like that. But essentially for the stuff that's in really high demand, the stuff that I know is going to be filling up entire train cars, that is the plan there. It needs to be based on if that freight train is going to be emptied at 1200 per minute, and that 1200 per minute needs to be completely sustained. And so that's kind of what I'm bouncing off of, is that 1 train car is the demand that I need, basically. Or realistically, if it needs to be multiple train cars, then that's fine. But that's kind of where hopefully that makes sense. It's hard to like explain without showing it, because showing it is like way fucking easier, because I can show you like, hey, this is the factory that needs this much per minute, and then this train is going to bring this much per minute every so many minutes to maintain that demand, while this train car next to it is either making up for the extra bit that it needs. Maybe I need like 1700 per minute instead of 1200 per minute, so I've got 1 train car handling 500, 1 train car handling 1200, and then together they feed the factory just fine, like that kind of thing. So that's what we're looking at here. But basically every Mark V belt that I deal with is 600 per minute, which means that a double like either industrial storage bins or what is it, the trained platforms, or what else has 2 belts? I think that might be it, because drones only have 1 belt out and 1 belt in, so that's a limitation of them as well. So anyway, that's what I'm planning everything at. And that is what we've been doing. So this is a super awesome use. It even lets you know for fluids as well. And this is, I think, done with it's done with Mark 1s and Mark 2s. And if you have 1 or 2, this is perfectly accurate, because it can only, I think the fluid storage is the same as the train car reduction. But most of, like, for at least from my plan, I'm not shipping a lot of fluids via train. So I don't, like, any fluid I am shipping, I'm shipping so much of it that it doesn't matter, because I know I'm totally fine on my throughput. Like I'm very much exceeding my throughput on my fluids, that it's not a problem. So I'm not worried about that. And then it lets you know if there's any issues with trains and stuff like that, how you can avoid radiation damage and poison gas when you're in a train, which is nice. So for those of you that don't know, if you're in a vehicle that isn't a train, that is not a thing. Like, you take gas damage, you take radiation damage, but when you're in a train, you don't. So it's a really easy way to, you know, save yourself if you run out of radiation filters. So super easy. And yeah, so that's basically the tools that we've been using. Quick explanation of what's been going on here, and what a small insight into what I've been doing while I've been away. And so the next step, which I forgot to do before I went live, is to go into what I'm using and find out what I need to double check. Basically, that is what I have to do, or figuring out what there is to double check, because I know that I have completed some things. So I've got the black and white printout of the map in front of me, so I can redraw some of that map and get this going. Even for trash, there's like not enough room left for that to matter. Okay, so this has some notes on it that I don't remember what they mean, which is fun. I love that. And this one has some notes on it that I do remember what they mean, but they don't really mean anything right now, because anything on that I can double check through the Excel document that I don't have to worry about for here. And so I'm gonna grab, I guess I'll just shoot right on the back of the map, and we're gonna write from the Excel document, which I have been using to double check this column here with the ones, is to let me know what I have finished, and then the dash mark is to let me know if I haven't done all of it yet. So this is the stuff that I want to write down for what I need to double check, what I need to finish, and so on and so forth. And this is also going to mean double checking if I finished it, because some of this stuff I might have finished and not realized it, because I have had to work on this pretty hard. So there's that. So batteries are, I'm going to make 2 columns real quick for finished and mostly finished. And so apparently in finished we did batteries. Apparently all 1,000 batteries per minute have their resources accounted for and transportation written down. That's a requirement for this check mark, is that I know what it's using, where it's using it, and how it's getting it. And that doesn't mean that I know where it's going. It just means I know that it's being made, and then anything else that uses that thing is a different checklist, because otherwise you would never have anything checked off and there'd be no progress on this at all, and you'd feel like this is a super impossible task, which it kind of is. But anyway, we're going to be going with that. So the batteries are done. The aluminum scrap is apparently done, and this is part of that bauxite belt that we talked about. So this is likely true. This is actually one of the first things that I did was bauxite, because it's the most important, most limited resource. I'm not using enough Caterium for it to matter, and I am using a good amount of quartz, and so that was a thing. And quartz, I had enough quartz left over from my main plan that I wasn't worried about it. Bauxite was the thing that I knew I was using literally all of it, as well as sulfur, and those two things had some stuff in common, like batteries. So that is why I started on that, because they were my 2 most used, most rare resources that I knew most of the save was going to have to start around, because it's the backbone of it. You know, fused modular frames need them, batteries need them, nuclear pasta needs them. You know, pretty much every late game item, it needs aluminum. The plutonium and uranium process needs aluminum. Adaptive control units, I think, needs aluminum. Radio control units needs aluminum. Heavy modular frames, I think, might need aluminum. Modular engines, I think, needs aluminum. Thermal propulsion rockets needs aluminum. Like a lot of stuff in here needs aluminum. So that was one of the very first things I wanted to deal with, so that when I was going in and getting into where and how those were getting made, I could try to plan around what is the closest route for shipping, because I'm making so many aluminum items. I know I need to do that by train. So accidentally making a mistake where I have like something that needs like a shitload of aluminum, but it's way up in the map away from all the bauxite, like that needs a fucking mega train or drones, and I don't want to deal with drones. So although I want them and I'm gonna use them, they're more of like an oh fuck thing than like let's plan everything around drones, because they use too many batteries. Of this 1,000 batteries per minute, I only have 250 of them per minute for drones. So by my estimations, that's about 125 drones a minute that I can be using at any given time, which means that I have 125 drones as my maximum for transportation fuck ups, because that 125 per minute is going to be for throughput stuff, and I've probably already used like close to 25 of them already, and I'm not even like halfway through. Maybe I am halfway through. I'm probably getting close to halfway through. Of like what's going on here, basically. You know, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen, and I'm barely touching it. So this needs to go all the way up to Z1. So I'm at like 21 out of God knows how many. I don't know how many items that actually is. Let me double check that actually. If this was everything. Oh, that's not what that's for. Okay, I can't do that then. If I can insert a row, and then I can do this, and that will work. And then I can know how many of these I have left and what progress I'm at, and that'll be good, because I want to know how far I'm in. So apparently I've done 21 of them out of 66. So I'm not even halfway in, and I've already used probably about 25 drones a minute, maybe even more. I haven't counted them yet. So that's another thing that we're going to be doing on this playthrough as well. This walkthrough of this plan is figure out just how many drones per minute I'm using. And unfortunately, I think at this point, I just have to take that as whatever it is. I don't think there's going to be a way to minimize that. I already went through this with the mindset of like, hey, let's use as little drones as possible. So I don't think it's going to change. And now that I know that this says 66, I'm also just going to put 66 here and then delete all this, because I don't need all those ones. Those don't matter anymore. I have the info I need, so let's get rid of the clutter. There we go. Right, so aluminum scrap is apparently done. Nitric acid is apparently done. That's really easy. It does use a lot of nitrogen gas, by the way. Nitric acid, I think it's like a 1 to 5 reduction of gas to acid. So you do need a pretty solid spot, but I can make basically all the nitric acid I need in one spot, so that's kind of nice. There's a single node, a resource well for nitrogen gas that is nothing but pures. So it's super easy to get everything that you need off of it, because it produces like 3,220 gas per minute, and I don't need that much in order to make the 580 nitric acid per minute that I need. So that is actually another thing that's such a specific location for resources that and it's something that I can't ship, right? It's gas, so I can ship it if I need to, but the most efficient way to ship that's like a massive pipeline, and I want to avoid that as much as possible. So instead of shipping nitric acid, I use that as the central location to ship everything else, and it just happened to be right next to all the bauxite, which is what Fuse Modular Frames needs. And then there just happened to be oil nearby that I could ship up to that, and I just happened, it just kind of all fell into place. So it wasn't anything that I could have like looked at a glance and gone, this is gonna work. I did have to play with it a bit and go, okay, if I did this here, what does that mean? And it was kind of like having to play chess with yourself, and you're trying to like, I would say that this whole process has been like, if you're playing chess as black, and you're trying to beat white, and they're making the first move, and you kind of have to go, okay, if they do this, then what do I have to do to win? But it's also kind of like where if they do a move that you don't like, you can just play yourself and then put it back and make a different move. And it's kind of this constant like push and pull and reactionary situation where there is no right answer until you find just the right moves that let you win that game, And then the other goal is to do this in as few moves as possible, because you could always do it in a lot of moves, right? But you also want to try to do it in as few moves as possible, because eventually, if you make enough moves, you can always make yourself win, right? But the hard part is making it in as few moves as possible, making sure that every single move is exactly what you need in order to make that certain domino fall, and then you just keep going and going and going, and eventually you end up with a finished project. And that's what this has been. So I don't want you guys to think that this is something that I went into and just like bulldozed through. This is days of work with some days off for mental health, but also like just days of work that had to happen to make this whole plan come together, so that when we get, you know, another 2 hours in and it just seems like this is completely natural, yes and no, you know, like none of these decisions were made that quickly, and none of none of these decisions were made lightly, but they did eventually find a way to get made, and they did eventually find a way to work out. But it took a lot of tries and a lot of hours to get that to be a thing. So, you know, just because you can't do this in one go, or you can't do it as quickly as other people, doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that you need to be patient with yourself and kind of go for it, you know, and let yourself take it at the speed that you can, because some people have a stomach for this and some people don't. I do. I could do this all day if it's what I want to do. If I had to do this for someone else and I wasn't getting paid, or I just had to do this when I didn't want to, I'm right there with all the people that go, this is way too much for me to ever think, because I just don't want to do that. It takes a very specific mindset, and it takes a very specific task to get me to want to do all of this work. It is not something I wake up and decide to do every day, by no means. This is a difficult thing to so when I decide to do it, I'm not half bad at it, and I can make this work all the time, you know, and you know, I can get this puzzle put together in my own time, as long as I am in the headspace to do it. But if I'm not in the headspace to do it, I would rather put a nail in my leg than sit down and do this, and I'm really not kidding. So don't feel bad if this isn't something that you want to do. It is totally understandable that this kind of stuff sucks, and that is one of the reasons why I want to share this stuff, is because I want you guys to be able to use this work. And so a huge goal of this series is for this to be palatable for all of you. Plastic, I don't know if that's done. That's going to be an interesting one. But you know, if this is making sense to you guys of how I'm explaining it, and it's something where if you needed to get a little bit extra help, and then you could manage to do this on your own, or just be able to frankly copy this work and make this yourself as like a blueprint, then that is kind of the goal of this as well. I know that there's people that maybe, you know, want to give a try to this massive scale building, but aren't super great at logistics and aren't super great at the balancing and everything else that it means to actually make that work, and not just be a bunch of buildings meshed together doing their thing. So what this lets you do is that all these numbers here actually tell you how many of that building you need to make this work. That's what this actually, what this particular spreadsheet lets you know, is what recipes are being used, what building it's in, how many of them you need, and how much power that uses. That's what this spreadsheet does. And it also you know, comes down, I also have the alternate recipes used in a different light, so that you know which ones you need to hard drive hunt for. These guys are for if they're in tiers 1 through 6. The light tier is if they're in tier 7, 8. I have it broken down here as well, where I've got 15 alternate recipes from tier 7, 8, 16 from tiers 1 through 6. That's going to have to change because I do end up using some of the other alternates that I was trying really hard not to use. So this information is going to change just a little bit, but everything on here is still accurate for now. It just needs to be updated a little bit more. Basically, it's going to be added to, but not subtracted from. So anything on here is definitely getting used. That isn't changing. It's just also Also, I have to use pure copper ingot. Also, I have to use pure iron. No, I don't think I have to use pure iron ingot. But also, I have to use, I think, pure caterium ingot and stuff like that. So there's some concessions I tried really hard to not have to use and use as few refineries as possible. But some of that stuff didn't quite work out. So most of the time, I can get away with copper alloy ingot. Most of the time, well, actually, I think all the time I'm getting away with solid steel ingot. I actually don't have to use cheap silica at all. I found out that because of how the quartz is laid out in the map, I never needed more quartz than what was at that location, so I didn't have to worry about limestone at all. So all of the silica is just being made on the standard recipe. So that's actually going to change. So I think that's the case. We're going to be double checking that. This does, however, make it use basically all of the quartz on the map. So if you didn't want to do that, then there are some locations where there is limestone nearby that you could make that work, but it just didn't make sense. There was no point in saving that quartz because anything else that needed quartz was so far away that it wouldn't matter, and then anything that I was making at that location where the quartz was didn't need any more than I was already making. And so to make more of that item would make the factory even bigger, and it's already a massive factory. So it just didn't make sense to use that alternate recipe. Unfortunately, I already have that alternate recipe unlocked. So I might have missed out on maybe the silicon high-speed connector because I saw that recipe multiple times on my hard drive hunting, that I think I might have even picked cheap silica over the silicon high-speed connector, which I'm definitely using silicon high-speed connector. And I thought I would need to use cheap silica, but apparently I don't, which is a kind of a big bummer on that kind of mistake, that I could have sworn I needed it, and the math made it seem like I did, but when I started planning it out, it didn't seem like I did. It was super weird. That's kind of how that worked out. So that is that's the update on that. But and Quickwire has been one that I absolutely need the fused copper ingot. There's just not enough caterium in the location that I need it in order to make that thing there without using fused caterium with the fused Quickwire alternate. And I think I might at times even need to use the pure caterium ingot alternate to make it a 2 to 1 instead of a 1 to 3 reduction, because that just has to be a thing. Rotors I have worked on, so rotors I'm going to put down as I have done some, because I have done rotors as motors and stators. So as long as I don't think I went past motors yet. I did not. Okay. Oh, this is also all organized by the tier building. Like, so the particle accelerator and blenders are like the most end game buildings. So this is like what you can focus on last. And then everything else is manufacturers, because this is the, you know, the more complex of the other, you know, stuff in the game. It also takes the most items in general. So it's like 3 to 4 items, 3 items minimum, 4 items max. And then it jumps down to refineries, because that takes 2 inputs, assemblers and foundries, because that takes 2 inputs, and then it hops down to constructors and smelters and resource wells and miners, because it's all 1 output or 1 input. So these are the most simple buildings, the mid-tier buildings, the kind of high mid-tier buildings / most complex buildings, and then this is like the super late game high demand buildings where they I think the blender can have like 3 or 4 inputs, and the particle accelerator I think only has like 1 or 2 inputs. I think 2 inputs is the particle accelerator, but it uses the most power. It's the most late game thing. It's the most expensive thing to build. So that felt like it merited it being in its own category with the blender, instead of it being with refineries and foundries and assemblers, because these are so much cheaper to make than particle accelerators. It didn't seem right to have that in its own with everything else. So they ended up getting their own category. And then down at the bottom, I even have that broken up. Oh, where did that? Oh, it's right here. I guess I moved it for some reason. I don't know why I haven't moved it back yet. But down here, I even have the amount of buildings in those groups as a breakdown. So like end game buildings are 328, early game buildings are 10,391, the power that those are using as well, and then the total buildings used in the whole save, which is mostly accurate. It's kind of more of like a ballpark number than something to be used like as a serious, like this is how many. And then the ballpark power usage for that, this does not include drones, so this is likely going to increase. I would say that I'm probably going to be around the 3,500 rather. No, no, sorry, 350,000 megawatt line. That'll probably be where I end up for power usage because of all the drone ports and stuff like that. 125, or actually be more like 250 drone ports times 100 megawatts each. That's going to use 25,000 megawatts already. And that 334 is a little bit too high because there's some buildings not being run at 100%. So I'll honestly, I think we'll be looking around probably the 375 to maybe even 400,000 megawatt range, which is still totally fine. I mean, we're going to be producing 351,000 from fuel alone and another 4,500 from geothermal. So we should be able to get away with just this in order to run everything. And then uranium could be like a toggleable thing, potentially. Where if we didn't want to use that, we wouldn't have to. But fuel tends to take up like the most of your frames. So we might end up not using fuel and then just letting geothermal run the way that it does. Letting coal run, maybe. We won't even really need to have it on, but we'll probably build the infrastructure because the point of all of this is to get it to a gigawatt. Getting it to that 1 million megawatts and hitting that gigawatt mark. So there's that. But if I ever wanted to hit the gigawatt, I could just turn on plutonium and then hit that gigawatt for pretty easily as well. But then the other issue with that is I'm creating permanent nuclear waste that I can't get rid of. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So no matter, my whole save can run off of sinking nuclear. That's no big deal. I don't need the extra power from plutonium. It's so much power when you max it out that I just don't need it. So if you're not going to take advantage of every single uranium or on the map, then yeah, you might need the extra power from plutonium. But if you use literally all the uranium and use all the alternates that max it out to 50.4 rods per minute, and then I also have all the other options that max this out to 22.4 rods per minute, then I'm getting like the biggest bang for my buck. I'm getting the most tickets per minute and the most power per minute possible with no nuclear waste. So that is the plan for that. And then if I ever need to turn on plutonium, I totally can. I'll just have to build another 224 nuclear power plants in order to run that, or I could go through and overclock all of my existing power plants to 200%, rerun plutonium through the same 252 things, and then, or actually I would only have to overclock 224 of them, not all 252, and then those fuel rods could get run through the same power plants and then have the waste split out with smart splitters and have the plutonium waste go one way and then shipped out to another location, and then the nuclear waste to continue to go into the same factory where it gets turned into plutonium rods, and that would work as well. But I currently have plans to power shard all of the miners, not the power plants. So there's that. Like, I can't hit this number or this number without power sharding the miners. So it's kind of more of like, if I have some left over, then maybe, but I also have no plans to use that plutonium unless something comes into the game in tier 9 and 10 that starts using so much fucking power that I just don't have a choice, and then I can run that power until I beat the, basically beat the game, because that by 10, that's what they're gonna call the end of early access and fully release it as a title. And so then when I beat the game, or when I know I could beat the game, and I can set myself to have a couple 100 hours left on this save before it gets completely irradiated, and then go from there, or at the very least enough hours to beat the campaign with the power demand that I need, and then I can turn the extra power production off and kind of use that as like a one-time boost, and have still be able to play on my save but have a limited area that's been irradiated. That's kind of where my thought process is with this power. So Anyway, and again, I would only have to do that if somehow I went from like 400,000 megawatts to over a gigawatt of power demand. So unless they added something that would use 600,000 megawatts of power, I'm literally in no danger of having to ever do that. So at least planned, you know, like that's the plan here. Again, like the main thing with this plan is that this is planned off of when the game is done, not like the game in its current state. Like this is very much like what I'm hoping to be my last save ever, because I don't want to sink thousands of hours into a save and then never get to use it again because I didn't plan right, or have to spend another 1,000 hours on the same save redoing infrastructure. Right? That's not what I want to do. So I'm going to get the infrastructure set up now so that when it's a thing, I can just plug and chug and just go and just start turning stuff on as the game lets me based on performance and power. That's kind of what the thing is, where I want to get as much of this built as I can and then just turn stuff on as the game lets me, and go from there. And hopefully by the time I'm done with this project, the game will just be able to handle that anyway. Right? But that's kind of where we're at. And so I'm hoping that this save is just like my last satisfactory save that I ever have to do, because I've played the game. I like the game, but replayability is not quite there for me. Like basically, like it's always the same, since it's always the same thing, and there's only so many different ways that you can play the game, that I don't feel the need to like go through the challenge of starting in a new biome and just, you know, getting as far as I can and then restarting and then, you know, going over and over again. I'm not going to play this like that. I'm going to play it more of a, like, I'm going to grow with the game, and then take that mindset of like, as the game is growing, my save can grow with it, and then I can just play this as if it was already released. Basically, that's kind of what this plan is letting me do, is play the game as if it's already 1.0, because it plays so well already that as the game gets more optimized, as the content comes in, that I can just kind of roll with those punches and get that done. And since we're already at tier 7, 8, the next two tiers are tier 9, 10, which is the end of the game. So it doesn't matter if I don't have to spend all this time maxing out tier 9 and 10 stuff, because once that stuff's done, the game's over. So this is basically doing all the infrastructure work so that the end game can get done with whatever it needs to get done. And hopefully I'm not building the wrong things for the end game. That's basically where the save can go wrong, is not knowing what 9 and 10 need to make things. So that is where we're going to have like a massive adjustment. But I like the game too much to wait until it's 1.0, so I'm just going to do this now and hope that it works out. You know, I don't want to have to sit and wait until the game's finished to like make a big factory, and maybe it ends up just, this is just a good learning experience, and maybe I do have to start over. Maybe the save file isn't supported when 1.0 comes out. You know, there's a lot of things that could happen that make this plan not work, but I don't want to focus on what's going to make it not fun or what's going to make this a waste of time, because I want to play the game. And so this is how I'm going to play the game to make it, you know, as worth my time as possible. Basically, this is like the biggest learning experience I could possibly do in Satisfactory, and it's also like the most I could possibly plan for how this game is going to play if you maxed out everything into the end game. And we might have to, just based off performance issues alone, cut back on just how much of everything we're using, but we can cut that back in ratios, and we can at the highest levels of this, which is like up here, which is the assembly director systems, the thermal propulsion rockets, and all this kind of stuff, I can artificially slow down everything underneath this just by limiting how much of these things I'm making, because everything in the save is based off of how many batteries per minute I'm making, how many fuel rods per minute I'm making, how many nuclear pasta per minute I'm making. All of this stuff is based off of this high level, high tier things. So in game, if I just turn off a couple of these systems, or in game if I just reduce the the percentage of this, and I go from like 100% to 50% on all the machines, or just turn off half of them, then as things get backed up, all of those things will turn off, and then my whole save is now magically running at 50% efficiency, and all I had to do was go through and change a couple numbers, or turn off, you know, half of my high level machines, and now everything's just at half capacity, and then maybe the game runs better at half capacity, and then as updates come out, and as what is it, the performance stuff gets better, then I can start turning on more and more of those machines until it eventually gets to do what it's meant to do. And that's the thing where I'm not worried about the save eventually hitting 100% efficiency, or like I'm more worried about when it will happen versus if it will happen. Like, I already know that this is what Coffee Stain has wanted to do, and with how determined and precise and direct they are with game changes, and how much they take to heart what this means to the player and the impact it has to people who play their game, I know that they will find a way, without having to change everything in the game fundamentally, to make this work, right? I trust them to come up with a decision that doesn't make all of this work irrelevant, because they know that for the people doing this, it is a huge kick in the balls to suddenly go, well, we can't get the game to support this, so this is no longer a thing. And then people, you know, that are more dedicated than me, who have had this build already, or who want to do this same thing, are now getting the biggest kick in the balls possible, and will probably just walk away from the game and never come back. And that's, you know, that's their dedicated core audience, so they can't piss off those people, basically. Like, those are the people that are, you know, sharing the game on social media, people that are streaming the game, people that are buying this game for friends. Like, they are like diehard Satisfactory through and through fans that want to see this game become everything that it can. And if you ruin the planning from the tools that you gave them in the first place, then that's just not going to work. Like, they have to make this work somehow. And so whether that, you know, becomes recipe alteration to reduce the amount of factories, or whether that becomes, you know, resource compression to make sure that, you know, it's all getting fed in the same amounts of proportions, like whether, you know, if they need to make 1200 per minute, more like, you know, 900 per minute, but keep all the ratios the same, that kind of thing. That's kind of where they need to go with this game, versus just going, well, this doesn't work, so sorry, you know. And so because of their history, because of how specific they are, because of how great the game tends to run, you know, like super minimal bugs every update, like super meaningful decisions, everything always comes out feeling super well balanced. And so I know I can feel the care they're putting in this game. Every time I play it, I feel how much they care and how good of a job they're doing. So I completely expect them to find a way to make this work, which is why I don't mind planning this far ahead, because I know somehow, somewhere, they will make this happen. I completely trust them to do that. And so, you know, I'm not worried about that at all. And this is probably the only early access game that I can even say that about. That I can honestly say I've even had the thought of trusting devs that much. And that, honestly, to me, that means something. For them to be able, for me to be able to feel that way about their game and trust them to go that far ahead, that I can plan for their game's release on stuff that they're having issues with right now that they can't put into the full release, but I trust for them to make the solve in such a way that it won't impact or change the entire game. That is something that I don't think I've ever said about an early access game, or have been able to trust a developer to do since like 2010. So I cannot express enough how much I love and appreciate Coffee Stain Studios. Cannot at all. They are fantastic, and I love their work ethic, and I love what they do. I love that they take their time. I love that they, you know, are letting people take time off, like they have massive vacation time, and it's great. And I will fully support and be patient for this game to be released whenever the fuck they want, because of how awesome they are and how they're doing it and that kind of thing. On top of community engagement, Jace and Snut are probably some of the most awesome and active community managers I've ever seen. And frankly, they need, like, every other game studio needs to do what they're doing. Like, I love it. Like, I love that they have a stylish sense of humor, which just so happens to make me laugh. I know for other people maybe it's annoying, but I'm a really big fan of their humor. I watch all of their videos, and they're literally the only developer that I will go out of my way to watch community update videos on. Like, from the actual developer as well. Like, otherwise it's just other random YouTubers that parrot knowledge and read a patch notes, you know. But they're like, I watch their official release stuff because it's good. It's good content, and they do an amazing job. So I really, really love them. To totally recommend checking out the Satisfactory YouTube channel. It's totally worth it. It's Coffee Stain Studios is the YouTube channel I think that you need to go look up. It's fantastic. So yeah, and honestly, there are AAA games that have come out in the last year, 2 years, 5 years that I honestly would not put this much work into because I fucking know it's gonna change. I know to a T that I cannot fucking count on Activision or EA or fucking Ubisoft or any of those major publishers to have a game made that wasn't shoved out the door for money, to where the developers have no choice but to fundamentally change the game because they weren't given the time that they needed to make it work in the first place. And I fully blame the publisher for that, because I know that the developer would rather not do that. I know that the person making that work, creating that art, does not inherently want it out the door unfinished. I know how fundamentally wrong that feels, and how that can irk every fiber in your being, and how if you could punch that person trying to release it and not lose your job or do jail time, you fucking would. Like, you would send them to the hospital if you could avoid charges and keep your job for trying to put your unfinished work out the door, because I know how much it means to people to have that done and have them know it was done the right way with as many of those checkboxes ticked off as possible. Eventually you have to ship it, of course. You could R&D this shit till the day you die, and it could never, like, it's never done. Honestly, it's never done. But you know that there's a point that you can accept that you've done everything you can. That anything after that, you can write off as there's nothing I could do about it. Like, of course there's things that are going to come up. Of course there's going to be bugs. Of course there's going to be all those weird things that happen. But you know that you did everything you could, right? And that is why I like Coffee Stain, because that's when they release it. They release it when they know they did everything they could. Not because they need money, not because it needs to come out, not because it's demanded by fans, not because a publisher told them that they have 2 months left to finish this work or they don't get funding, right? Like, that's what I like about Coffee Stain, is that they've managed to be that independent and they have that integrity to say, no, it's not done, sorry. That's what I love, right? The thing that especially that happened with Battlefield 5, that I didn't even play the game because I knew it was going to be a fucking mess. That happened with Battlefield 5 was the constant weapon updates, the constant weapon balances on a fucking published game. They were making sweeping weapon changes and then undoing those weapon changes within like 2 months because they weren't given time to actually finish the game. Right? Call of Duty World War II released with half of the content it was supposed to, and then guess what you're getting this year for Call of Duty? It's the fucking other half of that content as a brand new COD game because they didn't get to finish. And so it came out horrible. I had that game for 3 fucking days. I returned that shit so fast that they wouldn't even accept it back at Best Buy because it was within the window that they don't accept returns, so that Activision can pad their sales numbers so that, yeah, and hope that maybe people just say fuck it and keep the copy. That's how quickly I took that shit back, because I knew it wasn't done. I knew it was over monetized. I knew it was just a fucking cash grab, and that's not why I play fucking Call of Duty. So I took that back in 3 goddamn days, and I took that back so fast I had to go to GameStop and get store credit and get Modern Warfare Remastered like 2 years after it came out, and it was still fucking garbage. Like, I hated Modern Warfare Remastered, and I love, like, Modern Warfare 1 in 2007 is the first Call of Duty game I ever fucking played. I cannot get more nostalgic over Call of Duty than Modern Warfare 1, and they fucking ruined it. They fucking ruined it. They over-monetized that shit. I hate that they added new weapons. I could do with the new melee items. I really could. Wasn't my bread and butter. Didn't like it, but whatever. They fucking ruined the camos in that game, and they just... just so many things about it that I won't even play it. And it is one of the, like, I between that, World at War, and Modern Warfare 2, I cannot get more nostalgic over Call of Duties, and it is literally so just fucking unimmersive for me that I don't fucking feel the nostalgia. It's just that different, that it's just a different fucking game, and I there's just, at its core, I don't like it. And I couldn't exactly tell you why. There's certain things that ruin the immersion, but there's also certain things that I fucking don't like that game. I just don't. Anyway, that's not what the stream is for. Dude, like, honestly, man, like, I am putting this time into Satisfactory because it is refreshing to have a game that I can trust to put that time in. That is why I'm doing this. Is because I wholeheartedly feel like I am not going to get fucked like every other video game I've played for the last 10 years. That is why. No reservations at all about the hundreds of hours I put into this project already, plus the 150 hours on the save. So no qualms at fucking all. Very, very happy and willing to be doing this. And hopefully this helps someone out there somewhere. I don't know who or why or what, but hopefully this figures some stuff out. And at the very least, if this ends up getting the attention of some developers, I can help them find some bug reports about what happens when you start maxing out the entire fucking save, because that is basically what we're doing. Like, we're using all of the things. Like, I'm basically using all of the quartz, I'm using all of the copper, I'm using like 60,000 per minute of the iron. Like, it is as much of the things as I can possibly manage to make, you know, without using an excessive amount of buildings to truly max it out. We could really max it out and wash every bit of copper ore, every bit of caterium. Like, we could go even harder than what we're doing right now. It is technically possible to do and make more than what we're doing right now, but that, even for me, is too daunting of a task to plan, and it means too daunting of a task to build. I don't want to spend 500 hours building refineries if I can do it in 300. You know, I don't want to handle all the pipe work, right? They have done an amazing job with pipelines, and it is so much better than it was in update 3. And Mark II pipelines are awesome. The new UI for pipeline pumps is fantastic. I love it. But that doesn't mean that building pipelines is fun. And so when I have to build, you know, just one pipeline, that's no big deal. When I need to build 20 pipelines, that's when it becomes a problem. I don't want to build 20 pipelines for 1,000 kilometers. No, thank you. So if I can avoid that and not have to set up, you know, hundreds and thousands of refineries, I'm gonna avoid that. I think right now my whole plan only uses like 400 refineries. That's gonna have to go up, but it is minimal refineries. Okay, like, it's it's more than that, but it is minimal refineries. This is probably around 600 refineries. I think I'll end up with 1,000 at the end of the day, but I want to use as few of these fuckers as possible. Okay, shit, I'm at 800. I'm at 819 refineries already, and I know that has to go up. I already know that has to go up. So I will probably be around like 1.2, 1.3 thousand refineries by the end of the day. I don't love that, but this could very easily be 3,000 refineries. This could very easily be 4,000 refineries, maybe even 5,000 refineries. So it's better than it could be, right? It's still a fuckload. I still am not looking forward to that, but it is way less than it fucking could be. Way less. Like, if you really max this out, it could be thousands of these fuckers. And that just, none of that sounds like a good time. And I don't think I need to explain exactly why. I'm pretty sure anyone who's done this knows that that's not exactly a fucking good time. Meanwhile, let's touch on some saves here. This is the spawn location that I'm at. This is this one here in the middle. This is where my save currently is. So I've got a bunch of iron production going on kind of around here. There's yeah, basically this whole area right now is iron production. There's a little bit of limestone over here, bunch of copper going on right around up here, and then way over here-ish in this big valley pit area with this water, I think it's actually all the way over here, this big area here has been completely concreted over on like 3 different levels so that it can become my steel plant and my coal power production as well. So that's what's going on with all of this. And that's basically as far as I've gotten. I've got some oil stuff going on over here, mostly up in the sky, way up here. So I'm pumping up oil and some water all the way up to the top. That'll likely have to get redone and you know, switched over a little bit. And yeah, that's basically what my save has done so far. And there's a lot left. There really is. And I've got all of the base infrastructure recipes I need except for 2. I still need to get the silicon high-speed connector, and I still need to get diluted fuel. I have diluted packaged fuel, but it's not the same, and I don't want to have to deal with packagers as well. Most of this save is not having to do anything with packagers. I've been managing to get away with training the liquid and not having to package anything as of yet. That might not be able to be a thing. That might not get to stay, but that is so far the plan. Anyway, let's get to, so we wrote down everything that we have apparently finished, and we wrote down the stuff that we should have mostly finished, and we're going to go through and double check and check off those items and redraw our map as we go. And I'm now realizing that writing all those things on the back of the map was probably a shitty idea, because I'm going to be flipping back and forth a lot. But let's go ahead and start off with bauxite again, so I can show you from the get-go what my first thought was with how to handle this. And it took a little while to jump to bauxite. I think I actually started off on quartz to try to get the quartz production handled and figure out how and where all this was going to happen. But then I double-checked to see what bauxite was doing, and you can kind of see how bauxite has this massive belt across the entire map. And so I call it the bauxite belt. You could also call it Orion's bauxite, but you know, whatever you want to do. So that's kind of what the main focus of this was, is that since this is such a wide spanning operation, determining where certain factories were going to get put determined what was going to happen. So I have to do stuff based on, you know, where the resources are located in order to keep transportation to a minimum. So I ended up with 4 different facilities for bauxite. I ended up with an outpost over here that also ends up going up to here at eventually, because there's sulfur up there. That was another thing that was very important, was sulfur in this game, because I also need sulfur for the bauxite production. So I can tell you right now, what I know my plan is that this sulfur is getting droned out for nuclear. That's what all of that 1200 is going out to nuclear, which is going to be up here in the ocean. This sulfur here is getting droned up for nuclear as well. And then this sulfur is being trained down along with this sulfur into the bauxite loop. And that's what's going on with this guy. I think some of the sulfur might even be coming down into the bauxite loop as well. And then this sulfur and this sulfur, I think, are being droned up into the bauxite loop as well. There wasn't enough down here to merit a train, so that might change, but as of now there are drones, and I need so much per minute that training this distance would mean a really big train. And so it would only mean, like, I think 2 drones to do it this way versus like a big ass train. So If I can get away with drones, I want to get away with drones. So this is oh, by the way, I also went ahead and made a list before we get into this of how much I'm using and what. So this is a really big thing that I did on my Excel document, which I can make public if you need it. The Excel document's already public, but this bit isn't public. So if you need to write down this stuff now, then that's totally fine. And I'll get in super close, that way you guys can really see this and write this info down. So this is based on the train out and factory in. So this is what the train can handle and what the factory is going to be using. So I wanted to write down what and this is in bulk. This is in mass. This is what if you were going to get every single resource that I'm using, and every single copper powder, every single concrete, which obviously isn't even the case. This is the stuff on the right under this green area that trains could handle 100% if you had all of it in one spot. Right? So what this tells me is that when I see non-fissile uranium, when I see concrete, when I see copper powder, I know that a train can handle this without a doubt. That even if it starts going like across the map, that one train engine and 8 cars can handle this for sure. All of this math is based off of 1 engine and 4 cars. This is based off the 128 stacks that we talked about, right? All of this is based off of that. This equation is going off of 1 train engine, the stack size of 500, the 32 stacks per train car, and then knowing that 1 train engine can handle 4 cars. So this is based off the 128 stacks. Now, if your item stacks in 500, then this means that you have 64,000 items per train, that is per train engine, that can be transported in a given run, in a given load. That also means that based off of 1200 per minute belt speeds, withdrawing that resource per train car, because each freight platform has 2 exports and 2 imports, which means you can load and unload things per train car at 1200 per minute. This means that you would have 13.33 minutes in order to unload all of that material before the next train car needed to show up. Basically, that's your time that it would take to deplete that entire resource count. Which means that for non-fissile uranium, concrete, and copper powder, all the things that stack in 500 in my save, that I can do 1 train and not even fucking care. Totally fine, not a big deal. If I see that resource, I know a train can handle that shit easy as fuck. On this side is the stuff that it fucking can't handle. Like, 1 train cannot do this if it was all in one spot. If it's spread out, then maybe it could, but these are the materials like quick wire, aluminum scrap, wire, and screws that I need to look at with caution, that I need to look at and go, this isn't going to be simple. This isn't a 1 train thing. This is going to take more planning. This is going to take more work. Pay attention, right? That's what this tells me. So that is for 500 stacks. I did the same thing for every other stack size in the game, 50, 100, and 200, right? So I know that for 200 stack items, if I look at plastic, cable, circuit boards, aluminum casings, all of those things, I need to double check and make sure my math is right and make sure that I'm getting that down, because otherwise this is a 5-minute timer that's going to go away real fucking quick. So I need to make sure that, within that 5 minutes, that train is close enough to handle that, or that maybe it takes 2 engines to handle that. But this is the stuff on the left that I'm using so much of that even 2 trains is cutting it close. Like, that's kind of what this comes down to. Where on the right, 1 train can handle this easy as fuck. On the left, you're looking at either a super stacked line, or you need to split up how and where you're making those items. Cable, obviously, copper sheets, obviously, are going to be made at various different locations. And residual rubber, that's up in the air. I don't know. I might make that in 1 location. I might make that in multiple locations. I haven't totally decided. I think I'm going to make that on site next to the oil and then drone that back. I believe that was the plan. I considered also converting it to plastic on site and then droning it back, but I wasn't sure about that because all of the plastic needs to be put in the same location for the computers. And the computer location is close enough to the coast that if I had 2 trains with 2 engines, I could more than easily meet my throughput. So I'm not too worried about that. So the plan right now for oil is to, and I can show you on the map, if we go to the crude oil and the resource wells to click off all the oil, and I can go through and get rid of sulfur and bauxite. The main plan for this is to process all of the oil on site here into fuel, burn that fuel on site, and then use the resin to turn that into residual rubber, and then drone the residual rubber all the way up to the oil coast up here. And then there's some locations that I was able to determine how much residual rubber that could make, and then plan what needed rubber, because there's 2 things in my save that need rubber, and then plan out so that the things that needed the rubber per minute were being used and made next to the oil nodes that could produce that amount that it needed, which ended up being, I think, down here and over here. Where at these 2 locations, I can double check that. Yes, this location here and then this location here are the 2 that are being made into rubber, and then using that rubber on site, and then either sinking or shipping the remaining rubber back up to the coast via drone at like stupidly low rates, like 60 per minute rates, all the way back up to here. So like 1 drone can handle that, no big deal. And then all of this oil with all of this rubber is getting shipped all the way back up to here. This rubber might not. This rubber will probably produce into plastic on site, and then add that to the train as it goes by, because computers are being made in this area over here, and then the oil is going to be made over here. So all of this oil is going to be transported all the way over in rubber form, not it maybe even in plastic form. Actually, I'll probably ship all of the plastic from the left half of the coast to the right half of the coast, and then all of that plastic will come by and come all the way down here on a secondary train from the oil coast all the way down to where computers are, where that plastic is actually being turned into all of the computers. And then from there, those computers are turned into supercomputers, and then those supercomputers are shipped back over, I think, into this area here. Actually, I think it's in this area over here, where those are getting made into even more things and stuff like that. And so that's kind of the plan for oil so far, so that every bit of oil can be used, processed on the spot, converted into either power or rubber, and then shipped back up to the coast, because rubber is the most efficient way to transport that. It's the same stack as polymer resin, but it's half as much polymer resin. And it also means reducing the size of the factories on the coast, because otherwise it's having to get even bigger to process the resin into rubber, which is more water that you need in this location. And so as long as I can get the water needed here, then it's no big deal. And what might end up happening here, because of how little water there is, and I don't think there's a resource well over there to make up for it. Okay, there's this one over here. So what's going to have to happen with this is likely I'll be having to do water pipelines, which I said I don't want to do, but I'm going to have to, all the way from here to there to pipe in the water, or I can pump the oil. It seems more efficient to pump the water than to pump the oil. So that'll be a thing, so I can have enough water on site to deal with that. So between the lake and this water reservoir, that will have to get pipelined in to a central location, so I can process all of the oil into plastic, and then have a train station that this train can come by and pick up that plastic for. And that'll be kind of the plan for that. And so that process is crude oil to heavy oil residue and polymer resin into residual rubber, and then residual rubber plus fuel into plastic. That's the order for that. And then the heavy oil residue is going to be mixed with water for diluted fuel, and then burned through that recipe as well. So no turbo fuel in this save. It uses too much sulfur. I need that sulfur to max out nuclear and max out battery production, so I can have maximum drones and maximum supercomputers, because supercomputers take 100 batteries per supercomputer. So or is it computers? No, I think it's supercomputers. Supercomputers need like 100 batteries for every computer you make. So or is it 10 batteries for every computer you make? So for me to make 50 per minute, I need 500 batteries per minute. Yeah, it's a whole thing. So that's why that's happening. But anyway, we were doing bauxite. bauxite. Let's get rid of oil, and bauxite and sulfur are kind of tied hand in hand here, so we're going to do that as well. So we're double checking bauxite production and everything has to do with bauxite. I probably shouldn't have done this portrait. That'll work out. That'll work out. So we're dealing with this. This is the aluminum section here that we have to double check. All of these usage per minute numbers should be completely correct. I should double check them, but that's a lot of work. So I'm gonna trust myself just a teeny bit here, which might be enough to completely ruin it. But most of this work with the numbers I only do when I can, like when I've had enough sleep, when I feel up for it and stuff like that. And I can focus and really make sure that those numbers are correct. So this should be fine. This is dealing with what each station is going to be using, and I guess also what they're going to be producing and stuff from there. So we're going to double check this from there. So we have 4,400 per minute of bauxite being used at casings. We have 3,600 per minute of bauxite being used at ingots 2, 3,876 of bauxite being used at ingot 1. And there we go. And so this is using 750 per minute of iron, 1,000 per minute of aluminum casings. It's using 1,000 per minute of aluminum casings because that's using that to make the batteries. And then it's going to be producing 1,000 batteries per minute and 3,170 aluminum casings per minute. And then so many of that, I think, is 2,720 per minute, is being shipped up from casings to Silicon Valley, where all of the computers are being made. So there's that, and it's producing 5,560 per minute of aluminum ingots, or rather it's using 5,560 aluminum ingots. It's not producing that. This is getting supplemented from ingot 2. So there's that. There's a train going from ingot 2 to casing 1 that is doing that amount. So drones, we're going to be doing with drones and sulfur. So sulfur B and sulfur C will be droned to ingot 1 at 600 per minute each, using 4 drones in total, and sulfur B and C are located south of ingot A. So this should be ingot 1. So what that means is that in this area down here, this is ingot 1 over here. This is ingot 2. This is casings. I think this is casings, and this is no, that's not casing. That's bauxite A. This is casings. We have casings, bauxite A, sulfur A2, sulfur A1, ingot 1, ingot 2, ingot 1. And then the bauxite highway coming out this way, and then this is sulfur B and sulfur C that are south of ingot 1 over here. So both of these are going to be droned with 2 drones each in order to go up into ingot 1 to provide the sulfur there at 1,200 per minute. So there's that. Let me read down. So on the very edge of the map, down here, I'm going to be looking for land markers so I can be a bit more precise on this. So there's this. Oh, I kind of whited out that coastline. That's one. But it's directly. Oh, so it's directly below this pit. So this is the pit here, directly below the coast. I'm wait thing. Let me erase that. Okay, that's awesome. This. I feel like I need new names for these stations too. Sulfur B, sulfur C. It's so like, it's not memorable. I don't fucking know what that's supposed to mean. So I feel like it should be a reference to what station that it's going to. So this is ingot 1, and ingot 1's not a fucking great name either. I kind of want to call it Spaceball 1 and Spaceball 2. I kind of want to call it that. But that doesn't really have to do anything to do with aluminum. I could call it Reynolds 1 and Reynolds 2 as like a Reynolds rap joke. Or I could to do even more like a meta Ryan 1, Ryan 2 for Ryan Reynolds about aluminum as a joke on Reynolds rap. That we go even deeper and be like, okay, we got Ryan and Reynolds for aluminum. And so this could be and then the offshoots could be like characters he's played as a reference to, you know, oh, that's for Ryan Reynolds, because, well, then that wouldn't make any sense, because then it could be for either Ryan or Reynolds, so that doesn't really work. Yeah, so this you know, it gets kind of a thing. Like I could have it be actors' names and then the movies that I've enjoyed them in, and that could be a thing, because that's pretty easy for like what. But then we run into, okay, what if there's not enough, you know, movies that I know them from that would make that connection fast, because there's a lot of stuff that goes to and from Ingot 1, and a lot of stuff that goes from to and from Ingot 2. They're pretty big switchboards, basically. Like there's a lot of stuff going on there. There's a lot of train switching. So yeah, there's that. Sulfur B and Sulfur C, we might just leave that as is, but then we have A1 and A2. That doesn't really work super well either. This is like geographically the two most southern sulfurs, so we might, I think we'll probably switch it to that, where we have maybe South Sulfur as a thing. So maybe we do South Sulfur. Could be South Park, but then you know, there's other things south down there. There's a lot of oil down there and stuff like that. So maybe we'll do South Sulfur. Maybe we'll go back to, maybe we'll do A and B. I think I want to do letters for substations and then numbers for main factories. I think that's the format that I want to take, so that if it's got a 1 in it, then it is definitely like a main hub, massive stuff going on here. Or we have the substations with like A and B. And so I think I need to have like a more general name for this kind of stuff, because for this one it works, but there's another station where I'm making like turbo motors, electromagnetic control rods, motors, rotors, stators, wire, copper powder. Like there's a bunch of stuff going on there. That needs a better name so I can more accurately describe and figure out what the fuck's going on, because there's so, like, this other list down here for quartz, and this is all a fucking mess, and I already went through and tried to make it better, but it is a fucking mess right now. So that needs to be a thing for sure. Anyway, I think we'll keep Ingot 1 and Ingot 2. Casings, it just makes sense. It's the only thing I'm really making there is casings. Well, I'm also making batteries, but that's not a super big deal. I'm not really worried about that. It's like 2 things getting made there. I'm not going to stress over the name of 2 things getting made there. If there's like 3, 4, 5 things getting made there, then sure. That's why Silicon Valley is such a bold term. It's because there's like 4 things getting made in that one place. And that's going to have to be broken up into sub-factories. That same area is what it's going to go to, but that same area is going to be broken off in such smaller parts that the distance between those smaller parts won't matter. So for now, just planning it as Silicon Valley, and with details of what it needs to go where, you know, then we can figure out where in Silicon Valley those factories have to fit to make this work. But at the very least, we know that our throughputs are balanced. And that's the main point of this, is to make sure that the throughputs are balanced. And then we have to go through, when we're actually building this, and troubleshoot it that way, as like a, you know, theory versus practical of, in theory, this was supposed to work. Practically, why isn't it? Or practically, why is it? And then take those lessons and run with it. So there's no way we can know for sure, but that's one of the reasons why with drones I'm going with more than I need, because the last thing I want is to go, crap, I didn't plan for enough drones, and now I've got too many things relying on drones, versus going into like, okay, I'm using way less drones than I thought, what else can I drone to save time and space and keep with problems, right? That's the goal I want to go with. I want to over plan for drones now and act like I'm going to use maybe even twice as many as I might need, and then go from there. And you know, if someone comes by and has experience with drones and the size of output that we're dealing with, of, you know, the amount per minute and the same stack size, and they can tell me for sure that this is what's going to happen, then absolutely, that's great. And I can replan through that lens. But until I know for sure, because I've never used drones, I've read some other experiences that I want to make sure that this is as good as possible. So anyway, so we have this one here, which is, we're going to call this one South Sulphur A. And then the other one on the map is over here next to the other big pit, kind of between that lake by this rock, which is that one up down. And I'm just going to put an S next to it for sulfur, and then I'm going to have another note up below it on this this black part down here that says South Sulphur B. That way I'm not having like all this writing on the map right in the middle of it. I'm going to try to create like a key system so I can have most of the writing on the edges instead of having to write on the map itself, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to get cluttered in here, a lot of train ways they're going to get drawn, stuff like that. So we want to minimize on the second time around, learn from some mistakes, and get rid of some of the writing, and start doing key terms and key phrases, and get a bit more structure to this than the more loosey-goosey map planning that I did before, just to help get the numbers down. Because the numbers got down and the numbers should be good, but I also the map is a mess, so I need to clean it up a little bit. So South Sulphur A, South Sulphur B, and those are going into ingot 1 at 600 per minute each. So that's good. Sulphur A and Sulphur A1 and A2 will be drones. Oh, so Sulphur A1, which is this one over here, this will be droned to this one at 1200 per minute because it's a pure node. So 1200 per minute this way, and then from here, this is going to be trained all the way down to this bauxite here, and then this sulfur will be processed in this location as much as it can, with the remaining sulfur getting shipped all the way down to here. And this is being done in phases so that I can minimize how much is actually being transported, because simplifying these ingredients and reducing their stack size, either or mix of the two, is going to be the easiest way to make sure that you don't have 20,000 locomotives transporting everything around the map. Like, and it also, by the way, is going to help you with your frame rate, because you're going to be having more factories and more parts instead of these massive big conglomerates in one location. Of course, we're still going to, we can't avoid that, but we don't have to have like a literal like fucking Empire State Building worth of a factory hitting the skybox at 20 by 20 in order to make this all work. So, that's what we're going to try to avoid, is we might have something that big in one spot, but having to do that in 4 spots is not really what we want to do. So, to get to do this as simple as possible and make sure that we're shipping as few things as possible, is going to be spreading out the save as much as we can and reducing the toll on everything. Yeah. But anyway, there will be a train line from here to here. I will likely go through the water instead of going up and above this rock or going around the rock. It'll save time. So I'll build a train line here, and that will go down and probably just follow the water line all the way to here. And so this will eventually be getting 2,400 sulfur per minute, and this is not nearly enough bauxite to process all of that. So we can either ship bauxite up, or we can ship sulfur down along with other things. So I don't know exactly what we had planned for that, but this is what's going to be called bauxite A as a substation. This is what's going to be called sulfur. We can call this West Sulphur. This is the westmost sulfur, so we can call this West Sulphur A, West Sulphur B. So this will be West Sulphur B, and that'll go down to bauxite A. So let's detail that on the map real quick. We've got a couple of different landmarks here that we can find that location on my printout. It looks like This is... This should be that. Oh no, am I too high? I think I'm too high. Where are those land bridges I'm seeing? Is that way over here? Oh, I think I did. I think this is, yeah, this is... I think I went too far in what I blacked out on my printout. I might have messed up and actually whited out where this is supposed to go. I don't see it. Because this... That I'm not even quite seeing. That's weird. Where am I looking? Well, let's find this one then. This one looks like I can still find it. Edge, weird shaped rock. There's a lot of weird shaped rocks there. Where's this rock? Okay, oh, that looks like maybe that's the rock I'm looking at, and then I don't see that other rock that I'm looking at. That's weird. Okay. Huh. Yeah, I must have whited out this bit on accident. Maybe it's just not in the right spot. But there's all of... Or am I... Maybe... Oh, you know what? I think I'm too far... I don't think I was looking high enough up. That might have been it. I think I was looking in the wrong biome. Because that is now there. That is now there. Yep, I was in the wrong biome. I was in the wrong biome when I was looking at the map. So it worked out okay. So this is... That's so... I was looking too far south on the map. I needed to go more up and west. And then... this one is close to that sideways rock there. Okay, cool. Now we have the two west sulfurs, and those are going to be shipped down to bauxite A, and bauxite A is right smack dab in the middle of that swirl. And that's basically a straight line, by the way. But from this bauxite all the way up to this sulfur, basically a straight line. If you built like right here on this little island, that would basically be a straight line. So that's kind of interesting. So that could just be a super easy straight train that can go from the top of this rock and stay high all the way up to here, and then at this point here, fall off that cliff valley and go all the way down, and then follow the coast basically all the way to the end here. And then it could divert around here, then come up and loop around, or you could climb back up and go over this mountain, and then fall back down on this side. That could work too. And it could just follow the ground without needing concrete foundations from this cliff down. Just follow, and then rise up, and then run up here, and then come back down, and then kind of wiggle its way around all these different edges, meet up with this sulfur, and then go on some foundations across the ocean, all the way across this, get to here, cut through all this terrain, and then meet the factory up here. That would be how I would run that train line. So, right, so let's write that down. A. Call that one. Bauxite A might not be the best representation for that, but we're going to go ahead and just stick with bauxite A. Bauxite A. Right. And so bauxite A, oh, rather, so we're still on sulfur. So this is now west sulfur A will be droned to west sulfur B. at a rate of 20 per minute using 3 drones. A is northeast of B, and B is northeast of casings. Sulfur A and B, West Sulfur rather. West Sulfur A and B are the furthest points northeast. Sulfur West Sulfur A. West Sulfur A. Oh, actually B rather. West Sulfur B will be shipping 600 per minute of copper ore from Copper C back to Sulfur A1. What? Okay. Let's double check that. Where the fuck is the copper and why do you have to go there? Oh, yes. Oh, no, both, I think. Both of these, I think, are going to have copper. This one for sure. So this copper here, I think, is what we're calling Copper C. And this is going to get processed and shipped in copper, I think copper ingot form. No, copper ore. This is actually going to be copper ore. This is going to be brought as copper ore all the way down to here and then shipped with the train at 600 per minute over to here, where we can then process with iron that we're going to ship from up here in order to make that into copper ingots. So that's the plan with that. We'll leave the iron on the map. Actually, it's not that much of a clutter. So that's what's going on here. So that should be, it should be that's 600 a minute. This is also 600 a minute, but this is too far. And it's right next to iron. So there's no way that I would have shipped just the iron up to here to drone it down. That would be dumb. So if it was this copper here next to that iron, I would have processed it, and then it would have been on my notes as copper ingots, not copper ore. So I know that this has to be the one I'm talking about. So this is the copper ore that we're dealing with. So it's up there. Where's that? That's this one here. Okay. And then there's like a little ledge right around the water, kind of up there. Okay, so I think and that is gonna be some kind of transportation. I don't think that will be a belt. That's really far to belt it. It may not be that far. It's only one belt too. I don't mind running just one belt out that way, but that whole thing is going to have to be upgraded from 4 to 5 once it happens. That whole beltway would have to get upgraded. If it's a train, it wouldn't have, no, it'd have to anyway. It wouldn't be as many, but it would have to. It'd have to get upgraded. Basically, the whole map has to get upgraded once I get Mark 5 belts. So, because I'm gonna have to build this with Mark 4s, and at some point I might be able to switch over to building with Mark 5s, but a good chunk of this is gonna have to get built with Mark 4s, and then run through everything again at all of the factories to figure out, you know, where everything is. That's why this map is gonna be so important, because when this map is done, I know where all my shit is. And I mean, there'll be some beacons and stuff too, but I'll know for sure where all the mines are. You know, and you know, it'll be a little bit easier. It won't be like a lot easier, but it'll be a little bit easier. But there we go. So now we've got some dots down here for that copper. I do know that copper has to go down here, and I also know in my notes that nothing else is coming from there. So this is actually West Sulfur B now. So this is going to get changed to West Sulfur B. So West Sulfur B will be shipping 600 per minute of copper ore from Copper C back to West Sulfur B. That doesn't make any sense. That should be to Bauxite A. To Bauxites A. That's what that should say. And then this is being called Copper C. That doesn't even really need a name, to be honest. That's just copper. I I could. That doesn't even really need to be a train station name. We'll probably give it a train station name because it'll likely be a train. But I could belt that and make that a lot fucking easier for me and not have to have as many trains. And that's close enough. And it's just one thing. That executive decision, we're gonna belt that. So on my map, I'm gonna put a dashed line showing that it's gonna be one 600 belt line going from that copper ingot down to the sulfur ingot. The sulfur ore, so that copper ore down to the sulfur ore to do that, and then we'll upgrade that to a Mark 5 belt. When we dash a line, that copper dot to the sulfur, so that it's belt work, not a train. Solid line will be a train. There we go. A little dash line to show that that's a belt work line, not a train line. So there's that, and this won't even be copper C from nearby. We'll just make that say nearby node. Back to bauxite A. So that there's that, and we'll put by belts as well. We'll be shipping 600 per minute of copper ore by belts from nearby train node. From nearby node back to bauxite A, and then we know that'll be a train. Actually, this says drone. Why is this in drone? There's no way I was talking about. There's no way I'm talking about this copper up here. This should have to be processed first. But I said by drone. That would mean that this is happening. Oh, maybe I thought that I would drone this copper from here to here. Maybe that's what I was thinking, because one drone could totally handle that. But this is where, if I have extra drones, absolutely. One drone can handle that, no big deal. I will replace that with a drone versus a belt. But until I know exactly how many drones I'm using for all the important things, that is close enough that I could belt it. That's really not that bad. That's like maybe 200, maybe 100 kilometers. That's not that bad to drone, to just belt that. Right, coordinates 29,000... yeah, that's like maybe 1,000 kilometers. Maybe. That's sorry. That's maybe 100 kilometers. What am I trying to say here? 100 meters. That's like maybe 100 meters. Or maybe is that maybe a kilometer? No, there's no way that the whole map is 8 kilometers wide. So that's got to be more like 100 meters. That can't be that bad. I'd be surprised if that was too much worse. So there's that. What else were we looking at here? So this is trains. West Sulfur B will be shipping that. Yeah, this is going to be with trains here. So that's what this is going to be shipped to. So Sulfur A2. This is now what we're calling West Sulfur B. Is Sulfur A2. We'll be shipping 2,400 per minute of sulfur to casings, along with 750 per minute of iron ore, and the copper. So why would I be shipping iron ore, and why does West Sulfur B get iron ore? Why is that a thing? Why this is now getting shipped to here? That doesn't make any sense. Why would I be getting iron ore from here? That's a horrible idea. There's iron ore right here on a different train line that this could handle super fucking easily. In fact, that's also close enough that if I really felt like punishing myself, I could belt it, but I don't want to. So that's going to be that's 2 belts. I don't want to do 2 belts. 1 belt's not that bad. 1 belt can go by really quick. 2 belts, that's a whole bunch of clicking and button swapping that I don't want to deal with. So it gets a train or a drone. Train or drone. So this is actually, with that close of a distance, a drone is less efficient than a train. So train. This is a lie. So 2,400 sulfur per minute to casings, along with whoops, undo that. Along with 600 per minute, whoops, of copper ore. 600 per minute of copper ore, which means this now needs iron. So I'm gonna make a note on a sticky pad that I now need 750 per minute of iron. For bauxite. Bauxites. Where is it going? Is it bauxite A? I think it's for bauxite. Because otherwise, with the copper from here and the thing, like this is definitely this is a mistake. This is why we had to double check. This is a very early mistake that I made when I thought I was paying attention, but I apparently wasn't. So all of this is being shipped into, and this is now not that this is now going to be 3,000 items per minute, and that is now going to bauxite A. Or I think honestly, this will probably go to casings. Some of it, the copper is going to be going to, yeah, so the 2400 per minute of sulfur to casings, but the 650 per minute of copper is going to be to bauxite A, because that's going to get processed in at bauxite A. So we're going to have that go to 2 separate destinations. So that train will have to stop at bauxite A, drop off the copper ore, and then keep moving with the rest of the sulfur. And it might even end up dropping off a little bit of sulfur, but probably not. Probably not. So bauxite A will be shipping bauxite to casings at a rate of 2,100 per minute, along with 1,800 per minute of copper ore from copper A and B. Bauxite A is northeast of casings. Copper A is north of bauxite A. Copper B is west of bauxite A, northeast of casings. Okay, so this is apparently now 2 more copper ores. This copper ore, oh, so there we go. So these 2 have to get shipped over. So we have, what was that note? Copper A is, oh no, copper A is north. What? Oh, that must be copper A then. No, but we just called that copper C a second ago. The fuck you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? Copper A is north of bauxite A. That's a fucking lie. Copper C is. And copper B is west of bauxite A and northeast of casings. So northeast of casing... Wait, no. So this is casings. Northeast of casings, west... This one. So this is the copper I'm talking about. So this copper at 1,200 per minute, and then apparently another copper at 600 for 1,800 copper per minute is now being shipped to here to then be shipped to here when there's already iron ore up there. That doesn't make sense about why I wouldn't be shipping ingots and why I'd be shipping ores. I don't need to be shipping 2 sets of ores. That's dumb. The bauxite I can't totally process because I need what do I need for the bauxite one? Don't I need fuel for the bauxite recipe? I thought I did. No. Sulfuric acid, water, coal, and bauxite. So if there's no coal in this area, which there isn't, yeah, there's no coal here, which is why it's getting shipped over here to get processed into aluminum, because there's this coal over here and then more coal coming down the pipeline from over here, as well as this coal I think is going to be part of the sulfur train up here. So yeah, that's why there's no aluminum being processed in bauxite A. There's just no room, but I can very much process the copper ingots, which I know I need for aluminum casings. So if I'm going to be making the casings per minute, which I have put somewhere, where is it? Where? Aluminum casings. I need 2,780 copper ingots per minute in order to make all 5,560 aluminum casings. So that is my goal for copper ingots, which also means I need half of that copper from 2,780 divided by 2. I need 1,400 copper per minute in order to make that happen, as well as 700 iron per minute. So that is my requirement for that. The battery process does not involve anything other than the aluminum solution and sulfuric acid and all that, so I don't have to worry about any iron for like wire or anything weird like that. This is just going to be the 750 iron for copper, and then the 1,400 copper for copper, and for that. So that's what we have to worry about. So I don't need 750 per minute. That was a lie. 750 is overkill, so it needs 700 per minute. And I need 1,400 copper, which would mean that between this 600 here, unless this copper is getting used for something else that I don't fucking know about later in the save, which I don't think it is. This is too convenient to not use it for this. That this copper and this copper are going to come together. I could use this copper as well. Like that could be a very easy copper. In order to save this copper for other projects that it realistically might need. Oh, I just remembered. I just fucking remembered. This copper, this 600 per minute copper up here is getting droned back to this sulfur node on the return trip of the drone. That's why I'm not using it. This, from this sulfur port here, this 600 copper is getting droned back from the same drones that are bringing the 1200 sulfur per minute this way. This is the return trip is taking back copper. That's fucking why. That's fucking why I'm not using that copper. That's why down here I had the weird dumb note about totally misplacing where this one was and then using this 1200 copper for this 1600 copper per minute, or 1800 rather, out of the 1400 that I need. That's what fucking did it. And then the 700 per minute is coming from these two iron nodes here, so that bauxite A can produce the 2780 copper ingots per minute that I need to go everywhere else to get mixed in with the aluminum. So that's what's happening. Because otherwise I'm shipping a fuckload of ore. There's no point. Actually, you know what? Funny enough, there was a point, because if I make copper ingots, I'm actually shipping 1/4 more than what I would be shipping if I shipped the raw ores, because I'd be shipping 2800 copper ingots per minute, but I'd only be shipping 1400 copper ore and 700 iron ore. So it's actually 700 items per minute less that I'd be shipping if I did ores instead of if I was shipping the processed material. But I forgot about factory size when I was doing that. So I do need to actually process it and ship the extra items. But that is one of the weird cases where not processing it will actually ship fewer items. So let's double check that. So that's what the fucking weird note was up here with the drones. That's what this fucking was. Okay. So West Sulfur A will be droned to West Sulfur B at a rate of 1200 per minute using 3 drones. And then the other note here is that copper from nearby, we'll call this WSB for West Sulfur B, will be shipped on the return to West Sulfur A at 600 per minute, and that is to get it into the other half of the map to get it for copper powder. That's why that's happening. So then that's the thing. And so West Sulfur A will be the further person northeast. That doesn't matter. That can totally get deleted. Fuck that. West Sulfur B will be shipping not to bauxite A. That is not what is happening. Fuck that. That's what's going on with that. So this is where that little note for copper is coming in. So that's a hard note to remember. But that is where that's happening. So there is copper up there in order to do a thing. Yeah. I'm on West Sulfur A, on my little side note here, I'm gonna make a little arrow here so that I have an S and a C, and then I'm gonna put arrows like they're swapping, because that's kind of what's happening with the drones. That area is that we're swapping out copper for sulfur, and that's what we're doing. We're using drones to pretend like a sulfur node is where the copper node is, and the copper node is where the sulfur node is. That's how we're doing that. And so that's what's happening up here with that, and then this copper over here is getting shipped into bauxite, A, and that's close enough that I could probably just have one train doing that. If one train went to copper in the west and in the east, and then the same train went to the copper in the west, and then just dropped off both, I could probably have a straight line train that would just go to one, drop off, go to one, drop off, go to one, drop off, and that should provide enough throughput for that to happen. because of the buildup that it would occur. So that should be fine. It'll take some time for the system to like kind of prime, like that'll be a thing. And so if I let it build up full, like the train station, if I let the train station fill up before I start sending the train, and then I turn on the train and then let it go there, stop, there, stop, there, stop, like the whole time, then that should provide more than enough throughput, and that might even eventually drain out that reserve and equal out to the parts per minute that it can get, and that should be fine. Because 12 this will be at 1200 per minute, so this will likely be maybe two train cars, so we can have 2 train cars here, drop off here, and then go here, have 1 train car, fill up, drop off, go back, because it won't even, honestly, we might not even need 2. It may just be 1 train car. It might just be 1 engine, 1 train car, because for 1200 per minute, again, because it stacks in actually let me go to my thing here on trains. This is a 100 stack item, so it takes 2.67 minutes for an entire train car to fill up at that 1200 per minute belt speed rate. So as long as that train is going back to that location every 2.5 minutes, then totally fine. That's what that kind of comes down to. And this distance, not that bad. That should very easily be within 2.5 minutes for trains. They're pretty quick, especially if it only has 1 car. So worst case scenario, I'll just do 2 cars, and that is definitely, like, that'll buy me another 2.5 minutes, so that gives me 5 minutes. And if I need to get, more time, then 3 cars would be 7.5 minutes, and then 4 cars would let me have a 10-minute window that I could have that train match that throughput to Boxside A and be totally fine. So 10 minutes is enough for the train to go like all the way across the map in one direction. Oh no, there and back, actually. If we go to the electric locomotive, this is part of the timetable that they have, where the distance to go 8 kilometers, the approximate diagonal length of the map. For it to do it with no cars on manual driving, it took 8.5 minutes basically. With 4 cars, it took 10 minutes and 40 seconds. So for it to go all the way across the map with 4 cars, it took 10 minutes. For me to have it go this little distance, that's not even close to all the way across the map. Like we're talking about having, if in this distance, it takes 10.5 minutes for 1 train with 4 cars to go this distance. We're talking about a train going a fraction of that distance in very easily less than 10 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes, maybe even 2 minutes. So super possible within the realm of trains to get that done. So that's not a problem. So I can have a double-headed train that goes from here to here to here to here to here to here, and just have it stop in between the whole time. Hell, I could probably have it not stop in between as well, and that would actually make it go probably a little bit faster and be totally fine as well. So I could give it a little loop there where it just picks up from one, picks up from the other, drops off, and then keeps going, and totally fine. So we'll call that another loop here, but let's get those copper nodes and the iron nodes marked out. So do the little probably right around there is totally good. Mark out that copper node, and then we're gonna mark out the other copper node, which is up by that bend in the river, right? Yeah, like right there. Perfect. Copper node, and then we've got the 2 iron nodes up top that are going to come together on this big weird shape. Nearby, that right around there. That would be about where they are. And so that lets us know where the iron's coming from, where the copper's coming from, so on. And because now we know that the trains are doing such a good job between, those 2 distances here of the copper on the left and copper on the right, I could actually add in this iron ore into this loop that we're creating and have it go up from this left copper all the way up and then back down to the bauxite, and then over to the iron, and then back over to the copper, then back up to the iron. And that could be a whole independent train loop as well. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch that in right now. Write down that coppers, that an I for the iron, copper, and I'm just going to go ahead and freehand draw in those straight lines from point to point to point, that we get kind of like a triangle between bauxite A, the iron nodes up top, and then the copper to the west. And then I'm going to take that triangle and just draw a straight line from bauxite A to copper, and that will be the train line and loop for that. And one train can more than easily handle that. And so this is a copper ingot line, basically. Well, this is going to be making about 2,800 per minute of copper ingot. Quick break to breathe and drink, and then we're good. Right. What else? Oh, well, let's write that down. Let's make sure we write that down. That's going to need to get written down. That's a new idea that we didn't do in the last one. It's a new wording, rather, of what we did before. Better wording than what we did before. So let's fix this. So West Sulfur B will be shipping 2,400 per minute of sulfur to casings, along with 600 per minute of copper ore from bauxite A. That is a lie. That's not happening. So we'll be shipping that much to casings. Yeah, that's gonna go all the way to casings. That's what's gonna happen there. So that sulfur is gonna completely skip bauxite A and not even stop there, so that it can have a better throughput. There's no reason for it to stop there. Or we might have it go to bauxite A so it can pick up the iron ingots, but that's a lot per minute. Like if we look at this is all of it stacking in 100, right? Which means that I have 2.67 minutes before that train needs to be back there again at that stack size, which means that if we have a full stack of 4, that gives me, well, this is where it could be a double train, and it would likely have to be a double train for it to go all the way up from here, right? We're looking at a train going from all the way up in sulfur with 2,400 per minute, coming all the way down to here, picking up another 2,400 per minute, and then going all the way over here and then back and doing all that again within a certain time frame. And we could probably get it to do that in 10 minutes. And if we could do that in 10 minutes with equal parts of each cage, then that might be a 1 train engine thing. It could very easily be a 2 train engine thing as well. So that could be a thing where maybe we have it shipped from. Yeah, so we'll probably do that. That's the least amount of trains. It's the least amount of infrastructure. Otherwise I've got 2 different train engines on 2 separate trains, and that's fine too. That's not the worst thing, but this is within the realm of 1 train's capability. So I don't want to underestimate the trains here. They 8 cars would very easily transport that 5,000 per minute of objects that we have here. So that's not really that big a deal. So we'll go ahead and do that. So the West Sulfur B will be shipping 2,400 per minute to casings, and so we'll have this go to bauxite A. That way we can follow the shipping line, because it is going to be going to bauxite A. Do bauxite A. This is where it will pick up copper ingots. And then bauxite A will be shipping it also ship bauxite. It has to ship bauxite, casings, and sulfur. Okay, so how much bauxite per minute are we talking about here? This is 300, 900, and then that's another 2,100 per minute. That's getting rough. So I don't think this will be its own train. We'll have bauxite be its own train, and then we'll have the copper ingots and sulfur be. Well, honestly, this is what we should do, because it's all in the same area. The sulfur train should just fucking skip it and go ahead all the way to the end. So that's yeah, we're gonna do that. So this is gonna go to casings. This is gonna go to casings because it does need to pick up copper ingots, and then bauxite A we'll be shipping bauxite and copper ingots to casings at a rate of 2100 per minute and 2780 per minute. No copper ore. Bauxite A is northeast. That's fine for locations. Copper A, these are I'm not too worried about that in this line here. We'll fix that in a second. So now this is where we're going to go over where the copper and iron is coming from in order to make the copper ingots. So this is going to be all one train loop, where it's going to be going from one station to the next to the next. So what are we gonna name these guys? We already have one copper node nearby. Oh no, that's unnamed. It's unnamed because it's just a nearby node. So we can go ahead and start with like A, B, C, or whatever for these copper nodes and the iron nodes. That can be iron A as well. So I think what I'm going to probably shift this to, instead of, you know, copper or whatever, since this is for copper ingots specifically, I think I'm going to go with copper. We'll probably call it copper 1, copper 2, copper 3 in order to get it to go. Well, maybe we'll have copper A, copper B, copper C, because it is a substation. But bauxite A isn't. This is kind of a substation, but not really. So how far do we want to go? Because would that be bauxite 1, but the other station is just casings? Well, I guess that's a good point, because casings is like the big name. This would, I guess, bauxite A actually would be bauxite 1, not anything else. So we'll call this bauxite 1, and then we can have copper A, copper B, copper C, all shipping to bauxite 1. Because this is the only place that bauxite 1's mentioned. So we'll do that. This will now be copper. We'll call this copper. We'll just do copper A, copper B, and copper C, like this. We'll be shipping 1800 per minute of copper ore. And we won't quite, well, honestly, we'll make it 1400 per minute because we're not going to process all of it. We just don't need to, not yet anyway. And it'd be too much effort. Honestly, if we did process all of that copper, it could get, the extra copper could very easily be shipped up to the north of the map, because there is a train system going up there. So those copper ingots could get turned into copper powder at bauxite 1. And could get shipped up. That could very easily be a thing. So let's double check. How much more copper do I have in the area? Like none. This is all of the copper in the area. That's basically it. So if I took the extra 400 per minute and turn that into 800 per minute of ingots, and then divide 800 ingots would be divided by 6 to make 133 copper powder. So I could make 100 copper powder a minute, or even we'll make 130 copper powder per minute just to really maximize it. And I can make 130 copper powder per minute, and that copper powder could be transported up on the returning train from sulfur to bauxite. So bauxite 1 could take back 130 per minute of copper powder up into sulfur, and then that returning drone with the 600 per minute of copper ore has another 600 per minute throughput that it's getting matched from this drone up here, that I could ship that 130 copper powder per minute via drone from here all the way up here. And that would work totally fine, because this is where I'm making nuclear pasta. The most copper and iron together is in this biome here. So this is where I have to make nuclear pasta. So having that 130 per minute of copper powder up here is a pretty big win, because that's going to help make nuclear pasta, because I have to have 5,000 copper powder per minute to make 25 nuclear pasta, and that's already a nightmare. So getting this little win here would work really well. logistically speaking. That would be totally fine. So we're gonna do that. So that's gonna be the plan for bauxite 1. So bauxite 1, so copper A, B, and C will be shipping 1,800 per minute of copper ore. And we would need half of that, so 900 per minute of iron ore. The iron ore I absolutely can leave in waste. I don't need the extra iron ore. That can just live in the train station. I don't give a fuck. Of iron ore, which will be made into oh, so let's name those guys on the thing. I'll leave a note that this triangle around bauxite, right? Right. Okay. This ring here, this is what we're going to be calling copper A, which will be made, which will be processed at, so that of iron ore to bauxite 1. To bauxite 1, and which will be made into copper ingots at a rate of 2780 per minute of copper ingots. And how much? So if 2780 per minute specifically is going to use 1,390 copper, I have 1,800 per minute available, just 410 left. Times 2 is 820. Divided by 6 means I can make 135 per minute of copper powder. Okay. I'm going to double check that, by the way, on the copper powder recipe, which I should have lying around right over here. So copper powder, where are you? You're down, you're right here. So this is a 6 times for ingots to powder, which means that once I have my ingots produced, which is the 810, or I think it was 820, divide that by 6, that equals copper powder, which is 136. I'll make 135, have a little bit backed up, no big deal, and call that good. So that copper powder is being made, the ingots are being made, the ingots will be shipped to casings detailed above. The copper powder, and then this is where I'm gonna have another list for box. I'll write it here. So the copper powder is shipped to West Sulfur B. So this is where we're gonna have up here again. We're gonna do another line for it will do. Unload. So it will be sending 135 per minute of copper powder due to West Sulfur B. And then West Sulfur B will be shipping 600 per minute. Actually, that copper ore is gonna. Oh no, it needs iron to get mixed in. So copper ore, and 135 per minute of copper powder to West Sulfur A. And then from there, West Sulfur A will handle it to go somewhere else to get all the way up to the other north part of the map and get its way all the way up there. So that'll make its way. That'll likely switch to another drone, or the same load of ore and powder will just go up further, kind of thing. It'll just get, plugged into another drone port without needing to be split, and then in a different drone with more stuff can get run all the way up to the top of the map and then resplit with smart splitters up there when we get there, and that'll be fine. So now we have copper ABC doing that train loop to make the copper ingots. The copper ingots are being shipped at 21 per minute and 7100 per minute with the bauxite, and then the sulfur is going straight there. So this is very capable for trains. And then we have coal A being shipped to casings, and then coal A is southwest of casings. Okay. And southeast of ingots too. So now we have coal southwest of casings, southeast of ingots too. So this casing here is what we're this coal here is what we're talking about now. So we don't need that note anymore, and I need my map back. I'm already loving this version of the map a lot more. This is way more condensed. Doing this again was a good idea. It's going to take a minute to redo all that work, but it was a good idea. There's a little round lake there, like a ringworm that we're looking at, right next to that big old thing, right next to that. Yes, right here. Oh, C could be for copper, or it could be for coal, and I can't even do CO, because that would still be the same issue. I just realized that. Okay, I could do C1, C2. That's pretty easy to go like, hey, this is copper, not coal. And then there's also Caterium, but that could be CA, because that's got a different letter as the second letter. Is there any other C's that I'm thinking of? I don't think there is. I think it's just copper, Caterium, and coal. Yeah. Petroleum coke, but I'm not making petroleum coke. And that would just be a P. There's not many other things that use P. So, yeah. Okay. I guess I'll put a little copper note. Sure. And then this will be a coal. And that coal node is going to have to get run by train over to the other bauxite node. And let's go ahead and get that area. That's up by these lakes right there. Yeah, right. This is for that bauxite look. So we're gonna have a train line from casings to coal off the side. We're gonna have a train line from bauxite A over to casings. Those dots. And then we're gonna have a train line from bauxite A to West Sulphur. Connect those lines. And now it's looking pretty fire. We got a good little corner of that biome planned out. Okay, that's looking good. I like it. I'll go ahead and I'll post a picture of this map in the Discord, by the way, at the end of the stream, so that you guys can see what I came up with, and maybe you guys are following along too, and you want to see if you know, because it's good practice, right? Like, you guys don't have to worry about the numbers. You're just kind of like focusing on where the stuff is, plotting it on the map, and then getting the logistic lines down. And I've kind of done the math for you already. So this is like honestly a super easy way for you guys to kind of practice that mindset of how and where am I shipping these things, and then getting a good visual and finding a process for you that works. So I would really recommend, if you're not following along, that you do, and if you would like to follow along, that I'll show you what I came up with in the Discord as well. So that'll be a thing. So hopefully you guys thought of that. If you didn't, then well, fuck, I guess you better go rewatch the rest of the stream, or just cheat and get the map for next time, because it's going to be more than one session. So we'll probably continue this again. So if you guys have been watching the stream and you're like, man, I want to do that now, that's a cool idea, you got me excited, then hop in the Discord after the stream, or if you're watching the repeat, it'll already be there, and grab a picture of my map. You can go ahead and get the printout, you can redraw it yourself, and then you can be down and ready to keep going with this as we look at the math I already did, figure out what all the stuff is, and draw it out and work on logistics. And you're more than welcome to come by and have some suggestions live. Totally okay. And we can talk about whatever you guys want. So if for those of you that want the practice of getting good at, okay, how am I getting this shit anywhere other than where it is, this is probably the best I could possibly help you with that. So now is the time. If that's something that you struggle with, that's something that you want help with, don't wait. This may not happen again. So do it now when the math is already finished. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting through hours of me doing the math, which is already something you don't like. So trust me. Okay? Trust me on this one. It's going to be a good idea. I don't think I'm going to have to redo the map again. I like the format I'm doing. I don't think I'm going to have any mistakes. Unless I have to redo everything about how much and where it's being done, which I'm going to try very hard to not have to do, we won't be redoing this again in this form and fashion. So this is the only time for you to hop in and practice logistics with no math, okay? Otherwise, there will be lots of math. All this math didn't happen overnight, you know? There wasn't the fucking math fairy that came by and did this. There's not like a Satisfactory troll or gremlin coming by to help me out with this, right? I'm not like emailing Jason Snoot and going like, hey, I need numbers for logistics. I had to do this shit, okay? So I did it on stream. Well, I didn't do this on stream. I did this off stream because on stream you guys were pulling teeth, so I didn't do it on stream. But basically that's kind of like, don't expect this format forever, okay? Definitely, you know, take advantage of it while you can. So that is half of why I want to do this, is to help people and to have fun and play games the way I like to play games, and maybe make some of these tasks feel less daunting than they really do for a lot of you. I know for so many people this just feels like, why the fuck would I ever try? This is a nightmare. And so hopefully I'm able to make that a lot more palatable. That is what I would love to be able to do. If I'm not doing that, let me know how you would like to let me know how I could maybe do that for you. And if I am doing that, then let me know that you don't need me to change and I don't have to keep trying all these new things because it's already working for you. You know, the last thing I want to do is be punching so many holes in the wall trying to find out what works when the first or second punch already worked and then I lost you trying to do it a different way. So, you know, let me know if that's something that you're interested in, and if I'm doing it a way that you are happy with, because I can very easily try to come up with a new way to explain this. And also, we will be ending the stream soon because Kate's on her way home from work, so we will be we'll be ending shortly. So you got about 20 more minutes to me before I gotta call today. So let's get through a little bit more while we can. So the coal is going to be shipped to casings at a rate of 1,200 per minute. That's because there's two 600, so those are going to come together. That coal can't be processed in any way. We need it for the aluminum casing alternate recipe. And so that's easy as shit. That's no big deal. That can move on. So that just has to be called coal A. So we're going to make a note. This one called coal A. And move on. That's easy as fuck. Casings will be shipping 500 per minute of sulfur and 448 per minute of aluminum casings to Ingot 1. That's a very specific request. What that should mean is that of the 1,200 sulfur that I'm getting, I'm definitely using all of it, though. 2,400. The 2,400 sulfur that I'm getting from all the way up here, that means I must not be using all of it. So let's double check. Of the 4,400, yeah, okay. So of the if we in this number here, if we type in the 4,400 casings, ingots, I think, is it ingots or casings that I need? No, I'm making 55, 60. Oh no, yeah, no, it is, yeah, 4,170 casings, 5,560 ingots. So this number needs to be 5,560. That doesn't work. Oh, this number needs to change because scrap is a 2-to-1. So if I take the 556 and multiply that times 2, that means 11,120. That's how much of this scrap with the sulfuric acid is being used at this location. So if I take 11,120, that means I need 2,500 sulfuric acid, which is not quite working. Is that, wait, what? No. That's wrong. I have to do a different thing for this. Hold on. This is currently being calculated off of the remaining sulfuric acid, not how much sulfuric acid it would use if I was making less scrap. That's why that didn't work, is because this equation is the starting factor. Even though it logically it should be this. There's only so much sulfur on the map, and this is the last thing I'm using it for, so it's not the priority resource. So because this is a limiting factor, and this is the limiting factor that will be run out of first, then this is what everything else has to be based off of. So that's what that's about. So we want to use 11120 up here, and then we want this to not be equal to that, but to be equal to another equation that will equate to how much sulfuric acid per scrap is being used. So I believe it's actually the same amount as the water, if I'm not mistaken. This I actually need the recipe for. So this is where I'm going to use the Wikipedia now and go to the sulfuric acid and go into what it's used for down here, which is the instant scrap alternate, and it's almost the same amount as it is water, but it's 1/3 the amount of bauxite. So do we have bauxite? No. Okay. So what we're gonna do, sorry, is here, this is the same amount as the water being produced from the equation, and that is right here. So that just means this is going to be equal to that, and now we have the rest of the stuff that we need, which means 5,560 bauxite per minute, and it means 1,800 sulfuric acid to make all of the aluminum ingots that we need for casings. And then that can be mixed with copper, and all the casings can be made here. The other ingredients can get shoved along the way and move on from there. But the other thing that I'm noticing here is that we have 2,400 per minute of sulfur coming into this location, like right now, through here, because this is now 1,200 and 1,200, so this is 2,400 per minute coming all the way down into here, and we have another 600 per minute available. That is actually more sulfur than we need to make all of the aluminum ingots in this fashion. So I don't remember what that sulfur is being transported to the west for, but I can actually make all of the ingots here. Well, not all the ingots, but I can make all the ingots with sulfuric acid at this location. There's more ingots being made at ingot 1, ingot 2 that are not using sulfuric acid, because I have to split how I'm making that recipe, right? There's 7,000 bauxite being used for this, and then there's 4,000 bauxite, basically 4,500 bauxite, 7,500 bauxite being used for this. So I actually at casings could make all of the ingots and not just the casings, because all the ingredients are already going through that resource, through that area. But I guess I'm not gonna do that because I don't have a lot of demand for stuff over at casings, and that isn't really like logged into a lot of other trains over by casings. It could manage to go down to fused modular frames, but I don't have that as a plan. So right now I have bauxite being shipped from ingot 2 to casings, and then from casings I'm shipping sulfur to ingot 2, and then using that sulfur for something else. And this is the weird part where I have 8 sulfur per minute. Oh, this 8 per minute is getting shipped with the non-fissile uranium. That's what's happening. That's what's happening, is that this sulfur up here is getting trained all the way down to ingot 2, and then from ingot 2 it's being shipped out, I believe either via train or via drone, to eventually make its way over here, and then that is going to get shipped off to go to nuclear, because nuclear needs 3,108 sulfur per minute. That's how much that it needs for that. So it needs 2,100 per minute of sulfur that's not sulfuric acid, and then another 1,008 that is sulfuric acid. So that is what that is about. So that's why this is only 1,200 plus 300. That's only 1,500 per minute. So this needs another 1,608 per minute of sulfur, which is where this isn't even enough, because this is 1,200 per minute here, right? And then there's this 1,200 per minute up here is going to go. So I need another 408 sulfur per minute, which is what this 500 is doing over here. For some reason, it's this 500 over here versus maybe some of this sulfur here. That's going to go all the way over to here and then get produced into everything, and then maybe even trained and then shipped up there with the drones. I think that was the plan. I don't know. I have to go up to get copper. Yeah, I have to go up to get wait, is that by the Caterium? No, this is further off. I think it's actually this area here. Over by, yeah, this is the sulfur, this is the copper for Caterium. I'm using this copper and some of this iron for Caterium. That's getting droned over for Caterium. And then this line from ingots, which is down here, is for bauxite and copper. I don't have a train line going up to this area here. That's not a thing. So I do have to, that is a drone, and then this would be another drone. Unless I ran a train line all the way up to here to get this sulfur over here to this sulfur there. But that would be a pretty long train line. And that would have to be a pretty decent train. Likely its own train to make up for that. Okay. So that's interesting. 'Cause I need to minimize the distance that resource is traveling to minimize the size of the train. So that 500 per minute of sulfur that's coming all the way from the right side of the map, all the way up here basically, is where that 500 per minute is coming from. Maybe here, arguably at best coming from here. For it to go from here all the way over to ingots to then get processed into the excess and then droned out, that's dumb. So I could drone it from here, and because I already know that in casings I'm not using all of the sulfur that I need, right? I'm using 1853 of the sulfur, and I have 2400 minus 1853. I have 547, and that is a little bit more than what I need. So that's possible. And the issue is that I still need, minus that 508 that I need the difference of, I still need that 39 sulfur to be used somewhere for something. Because literally every single sulfur ore is used in the save. So that 39 has to get shipped or made somewhere. So that 39 is going to have its own train car in order to go up to ingot 2 and get produced at ingot 2 with the remaining sulfur up here, because this is by ingot 2. Ingot 2 is right here. Casings is right here. So there's a train line that goes this. Actually, I think this is ingot 2. So ingot 2 is here, casings is here. So the 39 sulfur that isn't getting droned out to uranium is, oh, I have more than 2400. I have 3000. That's plus another 600. I have 639 sulfur per minute that has to get taken from here to here to get processed into sulfuric acid and then processed into more aluminum ingots at ingot 2. Okay, so that's what's happening. That is what's happening. So I'll be droning out 408 per minute, 508 per minute of sulfur from casings to nuclear. That will be what's happening. So I need 3108. This is 1200 plus 300, which is 1500, plus another 1200 up there makes it 2700, and then the rest of the sulfur is going to come from over here in a drone. So 3108 minus 2700 is 408 per minute. So 408 per minute of sulfur has to be shipped out to there, and then that leaves more some stuff that can be shipped over here. And I could create more ingots and then just ship ingots as well. I don't have to ship the raw sulfur, but I'm already low on bauxite in the region, so I'd have to be shipping in bauxite to ship out ingots. That doesn't make any sense. So I'll just ship out sulfur and then make the bauxite in that area. It's less transportation. So there's that. So that'll be what we do. So casings will be shipping 500 per minute of sulfur and 488 per minute of aluminum casings. Oh, that's right, because those casings are needed as well. They need aluminum casings in order to make the nuclear things. Not radio control units. Was it the bat? No. What was it? Something in nuclear needed aluminum casings. Something did. What was it? It wasn't radio control units. It wasn't batteries. It was the encased plutonium cells. That's what needs it. Encased plutonium cells need 448 aluminum casings. So it isn't 500 per minute either. That's wrong. It's 408 per minute is what we're going to do of sulfur. And 448 per minute of aluminum casings will be drones. So we're going to change that to drones. Casings will drone of sulfur and aluminum casings to nuclear, which doesn't have anything too crazy right now. Oh, whoops, that's the wrong thing. To nuclear. And that will do that. And this won't get anything in return. I don't need anything back from nuclear. All that stuff is radioactive, so it's just a one-way drone, nothing in return. And so that's casings. We'll be shipping that. And then casings will also be shipping the remaining sulfur in the area, which is the 3000s minus the 408 minus the 1853, I believe it was, that I need to make all of the aluminum casings. Yeah, 1853. Well, 1854. Oh, that's a rough one. That's an odd number. That's a really odd number. Okay. So we might have to make that 1900 to make that a safe number, and then create that much worth of ingots, and then just ship everything. Well, no, we could throttle that weird number. We could do that because when we hard limit the we'll do 1853.3. We'll put that number down. We'll do 0.4 because that we're only going to be making that many casings per minute, so all the excess is just going to stay in the train station because we're going to be pulling from the train station to get it. So that weird third number doesn't really matter because that weird third number, every third trip will equal 1 sulfur. So that's fine. And so that leaves 738.6 per minute of sulfur that we're moving on to the next station. So not ideal, but it does work to do that because that is the most effective way to ship the nuclear stuff. So that's just kind of what we have to do. It's just unfortunate that the amount of ingots we're making makes it a weird shipping number, but it's going to require the least amount of bauxite. You know, we need 5,000 bauxite in the area to make that work, and fun fact, we don't have that much bauxite in the area to make that work, right? If we calm this down a little bit and we start looking at just the bauxite, then, you know, how much do we have in the area? Well, we've got 900 here and another 1,200 there, which means that we've got a total of 2,100 in the area, plus this, which is another 900. So we have 3,000 in this area, and everything else has to come from this way. There's no other way to put it. And this is the closest bauxite, right? So if we need 5,560, then we need 2,560 bauxite from this region just to make all the casings. And then the casings can come from here. Up because the computers are way up here, so the most direct line from casings to computers is to go back up through bauxite A, and then go from bauxite A through this biome up here, and then make its way into computers. So that's the plan for that. So 2,500 bauxite from here has to come this way, which is a lot if we're going to make all the casings in one spot, which is this doesn't even have actually. This is 2,400 in this area here. So all of this bauxite, what I has ingot 2, actually has to come all the way down to casings to even have enough bauxite to make this work. And on top of that, it still needs another 160 per minute. That's crazy. Okay, so this is where that plan changes, because this is too much shipping of too many quantities to make that work. So casings are going to have to be made in 2 separate locations, because shipping back casings is going to be way easier than shipping back bauxite. But that also means that the ingots are going to have to get shipped from here down to make the casings, because all the copper is over here, right? All the copper is going to go to this area here. So I have to make ingots here and ship down ingots, which means I have to ship up sulfur and down ingots, which isn't ideal. but that's kind of what I have to do. Otherwise, I'm shipping so much bauxite per minute. So much bauxite. I can ship like 1,000 ingots per minute at most, or I can ship 2,500 bauxite. Like it's ridiculous. So there's no way I'm gonna make that many. So I have 3,000 bauxite in this area here that I can work with comfortably, and then this is gonna need more bauxite as well. So this is gonna make more ingots than just casings, and then it will send some ingots back this way, which also means a mix of recipes as well, which is not ideal, but that's what we'll have to do. So this will have a mix of two different recipes of the bauxite to alumina solution with sloppy alumina, and then alumina solution to aluminum scrap, and then scrap to ingots, and then it will also have the sulfuric acid to casings, sorry, to scrap, and then scrap to ingots as well. So this will be a mix between all of that bauxite, because this is now 24. This is another 3,000 bauxite here. So I need 2560 of that with the sulfuric acid method, and then another 440 of that with the alumina solution method. So that'll be better numbers than what we're trying to do right now. So if I was to use 3,000 bauxite per minute in this area, how much sulfuric acid would that be? That's kind of what this comes down to. Where how much scrap could I make then, if this is now our new limiting factor? So if we wanted to make off 3,000 bauxite, let's go to the thing here. 3,000 bauxite is half of the scrap. So if we have 3,000 bauxite to work with, that means we can make 6,000 alumina scrap. That's what that means. So this gets to go to 6,000 alumina scrap because we can use 3,000 bauxite per minute, which means 1,000 sulfuric acid and 2,000 coal, which is working as well, because on the coal we have how much? Oh shoot, yeah, we're low on coal, huh? That's only 1,200 per minute of coal. So we need another 800 per minute of coal in this area just to utilize all the bauxite in this region, which would explain. Oh, I had bauxite coming in and I didn't have any coal coming in. I didn't finish, did I? I had no, because there's coal up here. So this coal was going to come in with the sulfur. That was the plan. So all of this coal was going to come down, and then I can have some shoot this way as well. So 800 per minute to go from here to there is not that bad. That I can make work. So that's that can be totally fine. So I can get the 2,000 coal that I need in this area just fine. And then that also means that the water is no big deal, and the bauxite's already there, the sulfur is already there, but I'm only using 1,000. So let's figure out how much we have left then, because this is going to send 408 per minute of sulfur out. Oh, sorry, Kate text me. Oh, it's a cat tree. That's cool. It's cool, but Tux never uses them. You would think that she would, because she's a pretty like active cat and she loves that kind of stuff, but she never uses the damn cat tree. Every time we get her one, she never uses it. So it saves me money. She's happy either way. She's a very happy and loved kitty. So she's okay without it. She's not missing out. So it's no big deal. So we're using 408 per minute to send out to nuclear, right? And then we're using 1,000 per minute to make the casings over here, and that's all that I think we have for that. That's all I got. Yeah, there's nothing else that's going to make those casings. We have helicopter ingots that are going to get shipped over as well. So that means that of the 3,000 sulfur in the area, whoops, that's in the wrong. Oh, whoops, that's too far. Go back. There we go. Okay, of the 3,000 sulfur in the area, there's 1,592 that's getting shipped up and out. That is a lot more than before. I did a surprising amount of this Ron. Or at the very least, my idea changed. I'll at least give myself some benefit of the doubt, where what and where I was going to do things is changing, and I think it's for the better. But yeah, so that's going to be the thing. So 1592 sulfur has to go up into ingot 2, and then on top of that, we've got copper ingots that have to go up and out into ingot 2, because we're making everything for the casings at 2780, but we're not making all of the casings in one spot anymore. So since we're only using 1,000 sulfuric acid and that we're only making 3,000 aluminum ingots, 3,000 aluminum ingots is only so many casings, which is 3,000 divided by, let me write down, 1,592 sulfur has to go to ink 2, and then 3,000 divided by 112.5 times, oh no, divided by not that, actually it's 3,000 divided by 150 times 112.5 is, no, come on, that's obviously not right. What did you do? 3,000 divided by 150 times 112.5. 2,250 casings per minute. That's what we're making. So 2,250 casings per minute means that we're using 2250, 1,500 copper ingots. We're using 1,500 copper ingots out of everything that we could be using, and 1,500. So 2,780 minus 1,500 means that we have to ship 1,280 copper ingot to ingot 2. And then the casings will have to get shipped out of various different areas, but we have to have so many casings get shipped into the computers. Do I think Doodles would for the cat tree? Oh, that's a good question. Maybe. But no heat lamp. So and he is really big for that. He's getting to be like as big or bigger than a cat, with especially with how long his tail is. So like he wouldn't get to use that for very long, because he can very easily get too big for that cat tree. Like iguanas get fucking huge. So and we don't plan to have him when he gets that big. But he's a rescue that we grabbed from a family friend. So we're rehoming him as well, because he's just getting to be too much for us. We you know, we're not good at or know how to take care of iguanas, and we've done the best we can, and we definitely did a better job than they did, but he is very quickly becoming a huge hassle and a huge responsibility that neither one of us wants, can handle, and are willing to put up with, because they bite, and their bites are fucking painful, and they can take entire fingers when they get to be full-size adults, and the spikes on their tail can cut you. They have sharp as fuck claws. Like, they're by no means a good pet, and they fucking hate you, by the way. Iguanas fucking hate everyone and everything. There is nothing that they like at all. There is no way to be friends with an iguana. They will just fucking hurt you. So it's honestly, it's like having a tiger. It's like having a tiger. You can spend all the time you want with them when they're growing up, and it's no big deal. But the minute they hit fucking puberty, and Doodles is hitting puberty, the minute they hit puberty, instincts kick back in, wild fucking animal, not at all domesticated, and they will fuck your shit up. They're not nice, and they're full of weapons. Fucking hate iguanas. They're not good pets. They're not good pets at fucking all. Please do not ever get an iguana. All of the reptiles that are most frequently bought and gotten and have to get rehomed, like the most common abandoned pet is the iguana for reptiles. Also, I gotta get this real quick. One sec. Okay, sorry, Kate called. Had to grab that. I usually always answer when she calls, but we had a little hiccup recently, so we got to make sure that nothing changes out of the ordinary, and so that's not like perceived one way or the other. That it's just like, you know, us moving on together and going from there. But anyway, nothing crazy, you know. No, we're not breaking up or anything anytime soon, but little thing popped up that we had to deal with, and it's all good. Could have been way more. But we talked about it soon enough and the right way. Could have talked about it sooner, but we didn't. And we talked about it in the right way, and we handled it okay. That it's no big deal. But anyway, 1280 per minute is what we're doing for copper ingots. 1592 for sulfur. And that should be everything that area is creating, right? Because that copper is getting droned back up, sulfur is coming down and then splits. The copper and the iron is getting produced in ingots over here, and then of anything else that's used to make the scrap on that recipe is coal, which we don't have any coal to come up, and you know, so we have to have coal come down, because we're demanding coal from the other facility. So let's do that. Let me grab the location for ingot 2 real quick on this. Okay, it's up there. Yeah, so this is ingot 2. Let me get my rail line in for that. That is... Okay. And this one, I know that there's nothing in that area that I'm using. Like if I go ahead and just... Oh, there's some Caterium right there, which I actually don't think I need to use. I don't think I need to use at all. I definitely don't need to use the limestone if there's any in this region. And there's no quartz over there. There's no uranium over here, and there's no sand ore over here. So this area of the map, I already know that I can go ahead and just like write on. Pretty sure. Oh no, there's some water right there, which I actually am using. Yeah, okay, so it's not quite safe to ride on this area here, but it's close. Up top maybe. Yeah, up here I can. So up on this little bit by the river, I can go ahead and write ink. Because there's nothing up there that we're training to straight from here to here. At least nothing that I've found yet. So we're chilling on that. So let me go to map layers and turn all this off. And then we're gonna go back to the coal, the sulfur, and the bauxite. That's what we're looking at right now. And so there we go. And then from there, we know that this stuff up here is gonna get shipped. So this is by that lake up there, which should be that shape. Yep, that shape here. There's coal there, up there. And there's also sulfur on top of the mountain ahead of that. Right now. Stuff. And next to that, a little bit down, right there. That's a good bit. Is that the wrong lake? Oh, I think I just dotted the wrong lake. I did. I dotted the wrong lake. There's sulfur by... Yeah, that's a bad dot. That's a bad dot. Okay. This dot here. Dot here. Train together. And then by this lake over here on this mountain, there's a dot. Oh, shoot. That train line is right where I wrote ingot 2. God damn it. Okay, I was trying to make that work, but then it didn't. So, this is a thing here. That's gonna go. Okay. And then that's... I can get it to come... There we go, just like that. And so then we have a coal, a C2 up here, have a sulfur up here, and a sulfur here. So now we have those lines drawn in, and we need to finish up some of this stuff right here real quick because we got Kate coming home. So we're dealing with copper A, B, and C, dealing that. Bauxite 1 will be shipping bauxite and copper casings at a rate of 2100 per minute and 2780 per minute for casings and so bauxite at 2100 per minute, and then that there. Bauxite A is northeast. Okay, so that works out just fine. West sulfur coal A. Casings were drone that much sulfur and that much aluminum casings to nuclear. Yeah, this is the best place to do that. So I'll have to pull the casings from here. Ingots 2 will be shipping 1400 per minute of bauxite into casings. That's not going to happen anymore. We're not shipping bauxite into casings. What it will be shipping is coal. It will be shipping 800 per minute of coal into casings, as well as not 440 per minute of coal. That was nowhere near the right amount of coal. I don't know what I was thinking. And we're not going to worry about aluminum ingots at the moment either. So we're going to shift that whole idea into that. So yeah, so this will be ingots will be shipping ingots to casings, and then fused frames is south. Yeah, so that's just gonna go away for now. Water will be shipping 1800 per minute of water to ingots 2. Water is south of ingots 2. Oh, so that water node down here is going to be bringing water up into ingots 2 via a small train. So this water resource well down here that we saw, that resource well here, this pure node here right below, right by those rocks, by that little out past ledge, so right around here is going to be a water resource node that's going to be shipping water up. So that's going to be a thing. So that's still totally fine. And we'll call this water A, just so that there's no confusion in case there's other waters down the line. And then we have casings. We'll be droning that, and it will be shipping. There's no sulfur getting shipped out, right? Because we deal with the 3000 per minute that we have there. Oh no, there was sulfur. Yeah, 1591. 1592 per minute of sulfur. And it will be shipping 1280 per minute of copper ingots to ingots 2. And then ingots 2 will be shipping 80 per minute of coal to casings. We'll have to jump back into this in a minute. So I'm going to highlight this one in red, that I know that this is where we left off, and we'll have to jumpstart this in a later episode. So that will be that. I'll go ahead and post a picture of the map that I have so far on the Discord, and you guys can see where those train lines are going at the moment. And yeah, maybe I think I'll refrain from posting both maps. I'll just show you what we've done so far. You guys can catch up with that if you want to, make a version of this on your own, and follow along in the next episode while we go through and double check all of my math and where everything is getting shipped from. It seems like we have a good amount of mistakes that we have to go through and catch, so we'll be doing that to really double check and make sure this is all happening, because we know that we had a good chunk of this handled. So that will do that. And we'll have a checklist going once we get everything done as well. So there's that. Nothing checked off so far. We haven't done anything in its entirety yet. And we'll have to set up a dot on the map for nuclear as well. In fact, I'll just go ahead and do that real quick. I'll just make I'll make a dot out in the ocean, kind of up here in the corner, and this will just here, and nuke its own little map. Like that's going to require a lot of planning for nuclear. So it's just going to be like a little place that we send stuff, and then we'll work on that later. That has so much space to spread out that I'm not worried about how much is getting shipped there or where in particular. We just need to have a reference point about where that's all going. So there's that. So hopefully this makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then you can always let me know, and we can talk about it in the next stream if we had any points of confusion and stuff like that. I will be trying in the next stream to do this at a more reasonable time for more people, so we can have more people coming by and saying hi and participating in this. So hopefully you guys are able to watch the repeat and do all the things, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. So we're gonna go ahead and switch over to Get the Fuck Out, because it is time to get the fuck out. So there's tools in the Discord to follow along. You can use the Discord command to do that. And we now have printable versions of maps, which I have in front of me, which I've been using. And I gotta say, I love it. I'm really happy I did this. I wasn't thinking about it. I almost didn't, and I did. And I'm using the version that has whited out the oceans and the black border to save as much ink as possible, because I was expecting to fuck up a lot more than I have so far. So I was thinking you'd have to print out 4 or 5 copies of these and redo this, and so far I haven't had to do that. So we might print one off that has the oceans and the black border and make a really nice one. And then I actually have a scanner, so I could scan this map in, and I could even go extra hard for you guys and color code it with train tracks, because I've got colored pencils, so I could draw on this with colored pencils and write everything down and make a key for you guys. And I've got a scanner that I could very easily, in fact, I could just use the printer scanner. I actually have a photo scanner that I could use to really get in there and show you guys, the chalk marks from the colored pencil. But I've got the scanner on the printer that would be more than capable of handling this. So maybe that'll be what we do. Maybe we'll make a nice one, and we'll really get in there, make a nice detailed map for you guys, like a subway station map with the main points of interest. It was some really big circles and some little teeny spots about where everything's getting picked up along the way, and we'll get some better names down. We'll make a big chart, and you guys can see logistically how and what everything's doing. And I think that would be a really awesome bow tie for this project. I think if we can manage to stay focused on this long enough, which is usually an issue for me, then we'll go ahead and do that. Because this is I'm really enjoying this map, and it's a fantastic visual for what the hell is going on. And I think getting to see what a theory of this would look like is going to help some of the people that really struggle with what's going on as well. And so we'll try to come up with like symbols for what the drone ports and all that should look like. And when I know the whole map is filled in, and I can get a greater sense of what's going on and where things are and the scale of this, then I can find the best way to kind of condense this down and make some notes for you guys and have a Word document to go with this map, so as a big key for all of you. And we'll alphabetize it in some way or fashion as well, so that you can read through this better. Right now, I have this organized based off of the resource and how that's being used, but I'll probably switch that to an alphabetical list of all the train stations and all the places that we're getting resources from, and go from there, because there's a lot of info here, and doing it the way that I'm doing it right now is helping me make sure that the math is right, but it's not really helping you guys read it and follow along. So we'll likely shift to an alphabetical version of this, and we'll probably even go alphabetical by resource as well, so that if there's it end up being the same thing. But anyway, yeah, that is going to do this stream. So thank you all for coming by. I will be posting a picture of this map in the Discord, so if you guys want to see what I've been drawing and go from there for like the 20th time. I think I've told you it's going to be in the Discord, and I will catch you guys in the next stream. I think it will be tomorrow. I would very much like to do this stream tomorrow, so let's go ahead and plan on tomorrow. I don't know for sure. Sleep has not been my friend, so hopefully, I'll try to be on by like 10 o'clock my time, which is roughly 10 hours ago. About 10 hours ago my time is when I'm hopefully going to be on. So it's like 7:30 right now for me. So I'm on PST. So for those of you that are like, okay, what's 10 hours from my time right now? That would be about when I'm on. Or you can just do the 10 a.m. PST conversion for whatever you guys do. So yeah, I think that'll be the plan. Usually 9 to 10 is usually a good time for people both in the EU and in the US. But I know a lot of people have work as well, but it's not quite. It's Monday. Yeah, it's Monday. So I don't know about that. We might do a night stream. No, we'll be streaming tomorrow morning. I might do 2 streams. I might do 1 stream in the morning and then 1 stream at night. That might be what we do. I might break it up into 2 smaller streams for the day instead of having one massive stream. But I think I'm gonna, while I'm double checking my work, I'm gonna be streaming the content for you guys and let you guys figure out logistics with me. And then once we get back into the numbers and having to figure out who and what and where, I'll probably go back into offline and do that on my own. You do the math without you guys, and then come back and present this way. Likely what we will be doing. So yeah, we'll probably do that. In fact, I'll even leave I'll have a second copy of this. In fact, I'll probably scan this and make a photocopy of this. That way at different stages I have what I've been using. And you know what, that'll actually probably be what I do. I'll scan this, put the scan in the Discord, and then I'll be able to print a copy of this from this point on. That way if I fuck up, I don't have to redraw all of this stuff too. Because in the next stage I might, yeah, that'll be what we do. That way I can kind of continually print this off as I fuck up, and then we'll redo everything in color once that's a thing. Because if I start doing color now, I'm gonna be doing 20 different fucking iterations of colors, and I'm not gonna, I'll come into like, oh, wait, this color was working up until this point kind of thing. It's gonna be annoying as fuck. So we'll do the color all at once at the end, and then we'll get everything put together this way. And it'll be on a black and white map too. I'm not going to do all the color rail on a color map. That'll be impossible to see. So it'll be a black and white map with the black border and everything. I'll spoil you guys and do like a full-on map that way. And we'll do it. We'll do that. In fact, I might even do both. I might even do one with and without the border. Let me know what you guys are thinking. We'll go over that a bit more. Maybe we'll run. We'll like, if whoever comments the most in the Discord for with the black border or without the black border, or with or without, we'll definitely do oceans, but with the black border, without the black border. If you guys would prefer that, I'll probably lean toward not having it, just for ink saving, so you guys can print this out more than once. In fact, I'll decide for you. We'll do the oceans, but no black border. Tell you what, we'll cut it simple there. No need to talk to the community. Executive decision. No black border, but oceans, so that you guys can have the color version of the map with all the little details and stuff, and we'll get the Word document ready for you guys, so that if you have issues with logistics and you need something to run through this in your head and kind of practice and get used to that mindset, because it very much takes practice. I have been thinking like this my entire life. I didn't just wake up and do this today. So you can do this. I promise you can. It just takes time. It takes time and effort and practice, and you can absolutely start to teach yourself the little ways and methods that go along with this. And you can even, as a challenge, try to do it better. I am by no means doing the perfect way. I'm just doing what makes sense to me right now, this time. And so to challenge yourself and to stretch that creativity that this requires, go ahead and try to do it better, and hell, pitch me your idea, give me your elevator pitch about how you want to do that logistically better, and what you would change to make that work. And we'll probably do that at the end with the big picture stuff, because there's a lot of stuff right now that is reliant on other projects that you don't know yet. So reworking what we're doing right now is going to be a lot harder if you don't know what other nodes are being used for. So this is kind of like maybe that'll be a fun thing for us to do together at the end, because once we have all the stuff together, then we can kind of figure out where the waste is. But right now there's like 95% of the map that we don't even know what we're doing with it yet, kind of thing. So we need to get that filled out so that we know where the crap is, basically. And sometimes we're going to find that little waste along the way, like we just did today. We found some waste along the way, but other times it's not so easy to find. And so sometimes you get all the way to the very end and then you realize that you had one puzzle piece wrong and you have to take everything apart and then put it back together. So there's that. So anyway, thank you all for coming by and sticking around. I really appreciate it. We'll be doing some streams definitely by Wednesday. So definitely, if you don't see me on in the next 24 hours, I'll definitely be on in the next 48 hours, and we'll be doing this. I would say it's a very strong chance that we're on sometime tomorrow. I wish I could tell you when, but I've been all over the place with sleep. So I hopefully you guys are available when I'm on. If not, then you can always contact me on the Discord. You can always contact me on Twitter, and we can problem solve some stuff that you guys have. We can talk about stuff that I've done. We can try to plan a time for streaming if there's a time that you want to come by. If you know for sure that you want to come by and be ready for this, and this is a time that works best for you, let me know. I don't mind planning my whole stream around just one person. It's okay. I'm not reaching enough people right now. The average viewer isn't up enough that if even just one of you guys watching the repeat is like, this sounds fucking awesome, I want to do this, then let me know. Totally fine. We'll get a time together that you can come by and do this with us. And hell, we have the Discord voice chat too. So I'd be more than willing to walk you through this, person to person versus through chat. That's all totally fine. So we can do that as well. So let me know. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep doing what we've been doing right now. So if that's all that you want, then don't worry about it. But if there's anyone else who wants some help with this kind of stuff, let me know. It's really no big deal. And I don't mind it. It's a good amount of fun for me. I like puzzles and I like problem solving, and this game kind of allows you to do the ultimate puzzle building and problem solving, because not only do I get to solve the puzzles, I'm also making the puzzle, and that's kind of cool. So anyway, we will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.